As some of you may have heard, there was an incident last night. One of your recent graduates here was killed. In the meantime, we need you all to be on the lookout for any suspicious activity.
You guys just moved in.
How do you know?
I live next door to you. What happened there? Some kids from school. I'll help you. You're a girl. I'm a lot stronger than you think I am.
Can you get me through the room?
Sometimes.
I was fired a few days ago. Victim completely drained of blood. Please don't treat that boy again.
Where's your dad? He pissed on my dad. What was that? What was going on? Really? I need blood to live.
There's a whole lot more than just what's been going on around here. This goes way back to the states of the cities.
Do you think there's such a thing as evil?
Yes, y'all, it's going down right now. Episode 287 of the Triple Shots of Moodz and Horror podcast is coming at you live and direct with the homie JP, also known as the Mexicans. And of course, we got Tyler, also known as Mr. Saucedo, and I'll be your host from the foreign land of Canada, the toxic offender, Moodz. Yeah. What's going on, dudes?
You know what's funny? I was listening to the radio today and I heard someone say Canada.
And they were being serious?
I think they were like joking.
Oh, okay.
Like for funds, but it's like I didn't know that was. I thought I just made that up.
No, I've actually heard the term before, but usually people say it in a joking manner. Like if you're being serious and you're saying the land of Canada, but I mean the joke here is the foreign land of Canada, right?
Yeah, I definitely heard it before.
Didn't y'all just get like a new prime minister or something?
Well, ours isn't actually. He's still in office, but he's not in office. Man, Canadian politics are a fucking joke. But
do you have like a new one coming in? Or?
Yeah, well, what happened was he stepped down, but he has the power not to have another election, so he's going to play it out. So he's technically not prime minister, but he is still in office making decisions until the election happens, because it's like a bunch of politics within the politics of itself, right? That's why he's holding the power, because he doesn't want to give it up. And it's fucking bullshit.
That's
dude.
Weird if he's stepping down. That's Trudeau, right?
Yeah, well, his term's up anyways, right? So there's another election, I think, this year or whatever, and then it'll be whatever it is. So I'm sure people will be very, very fucking happy about that. I mean, people are happy that he's stepped down right now, but the fact that he's still making decisions is, I don't even understand how it works. This is why I fucking hate politics. It makes no sense.
Yeah, so he can make decisions, but there's no liability because he's not prime minister.
It's fucking weird because because apparently he holds the power to have the election, but he's like, nope. We're not fucking bringing in someone else. Because basically what happened was his cabinet voted to basically have him fired, essentially. They forced him to kind of step down, right? So if the majority
I've never
votes,
heard people say nice things about him.
Yeah. So what happened? His own people, his own cabinet, his own fucking, comrades and shit were like, hey, no, you need to fucking step down. So it's pretty wild. It's pretty fucking wild, actually. But I mean, Canadian politics are just not as interesting as American politics because it's.
I remember he was bros with Obama, so that had to be a long time. He has to have been in office a long time, right?
Yeah, he's been around a while.
Still Trudeau. I didn't miss someone, right?
Yeah, no, he's been around for a while. But yeah, he comes from a silver spoon up his ass. His daddy was prime minister way back in the day too, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so, but
yeah, I think the amount of politics that Americans know for Canada is a lot under what you guys know about American politics. I don't really know a lot about Canadian politics.
I mean, to be fair, I probably know more about American politics than I do about Canadian politics, because our Canadian politics are so uninteresting. Like, it's just, you guys always seem to have like the crazy shit happening, like the shit that people actually want to talk about, like the just outrageous shit, like renaming fucking bodies of water and shit. We just don't get stuff like, we don't get cool shit like that to talk about. It's like,
we haven't had just like a normal like presidency.
Like in a while.
Yeah, no, it's been fucking something else, man. Like, but the problem is with politics, and like, of course we're not going to talk about politics, is like,
right, yeah.
Is the fucking internet, though, because the internet posts all this shit about Trump and Trudeau and all this type of shit and stuff, and you kind of have to take it for the grain of salt, though, too, because a lot of the shit that is being posted is like, it's blown out of proportion, it's taken out of context, and it's just like, this is why people side so hard with shit, and they're just like, oh yeah, fuck the liberals, fuck the Democrats, fuck the Republicans. It's like, man, dude, like, if
you talk to most normal people just like day to day, they're not really crazy like it is on the internet.
No,
that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you read the shit on the internet, and I'm like, I try not to, like, I really don't ever really go on Facebook and all that type of shit. I'm on Instagram.
Well, it's tough because you click on one video or the one post, and it just like gets in your algorithm, and it just like floods it, and you have to like make an effort to like, don't show me this, well, don't click on anything else.
Actually, the funny thing about that is, like, Canada has always been pretty good about like not having crazy, obscene moments of like censorship and stuff like that, except for like this day and age. So our government right now censors, like, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but when anything to do with politics is posted on Facebook, it's blocked for me. So that's why I could never read the posts that were being posted by like Lucas Tout and stuff like that. And people post these things of like these political. So our Canadian government started censoring anything to do with politics on Facebook. So like, because they don't want the fucking public knowing. That's just how Canada is. We're a bunch of fucking pussies. Like, that's pussy shit. Like, the people need to know if the post is going to be relatively, truthful, or, just, they're just so afraid of everything being so harmful and being persuaded. But I mean, that is a major problem with the internet, man, is the brainwashing, right? Yeah. Because people like to stay in their own lanes. And the problem with that is like, when you stay in your own lane, you never hear the other side of the argument. There's always two sides of the story, right? And that's the major problem.
Like, bubbles.
It creates these bubbles, and that
agree with.
And these people, like, they constantly just like, they just force it down you, and like, they will not hear the other side of the argument. And that's why I can't fuck with politics, man. It's a waste of fucking time, breath, and air, and space, and
especially on the internet.
Especially,
I've had more productive conversations in real life than I've ever had on the internet when it comes to politics.
Yeah, dude, I'm friends with people that have like completely different political views with me, and it doesn't affect our friendship because like, we don't allow it to. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, one of my best friends, like, he's a really big Trump supporter, and I'm fine with that. It's like, it is what it is. If that's what you want to do, like, like, it is what it is, right? We don't let our friendship and our fucking, everything else that we have in common ever affect anything. But we're also face to face when we're talking.
You love like gutter balls, and I'm still friends with you.
Yeah, well, there you go. The bowling bag killer, man. The fucking I like the mask. Come on.
But yeah, let's get off.
Yeah, exactly.
We already talked about it too much.
Here we are fucking screaming for shit to talk about. We end up talking about, and that's something that we never ever talk about on the show.
We're not talking about actual politics. We're just talking about the idea of politics.
Yeah, no, the internet is a scary place. Just put it that way.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, episode 287 of the podcast. We're coming back at you guys with another OG versus remake. I know these aren't really JP's favorite shows to do, but a lot of these shows do pretty well. People seem to tend to like these
doing
shows.
Them like every like one or two a season. I just don't like doing them like all that much. It's not my favorite type of show.
I think the reason why we pepper these into our into the schedule, into the podcast, programming, if you want to call it that, is because we generally do a lot of bigger shows. Like even doing an extra film 3 is a lot more prep. So if we have something coming up that's a little bit bigger the week after we do one of these shows, it's probably because, or this is the reason why we do these ones, because it's just quick prep. It's quick prep.
Yeah,
We've been
2
really
films
busy.
is easier than 3.
Yeah, but I actually like the idea of doing these shows. We don't really like the versus thing is kind of misleading a little bit, but at the same time, there is times where you will talk about the differences in films. Unfortunately, we have had some verses that are kind of verbatims and shit like that, but you know, it is what
The
it is.
last one we did was Carnival Souls.
Which was a lot different. But doesn't mean the remake was any. Actually, the remake was really fucking bad, like really bad. Did that one end up making the Hall of Pain? Actually, because it was like,
I can't remember if it did.
man, we did some pretty shit on that one. But yeah, that's
this one
I feel like it
is
did.
this one is one of the closest in time period that we've ever had, right? Because it's like what, 2 years apart.
yeah, 2008 and 2010. There is a few like this though. Like if we were to ever do Inside, like those are pretty close in proximity.
That's like 8 years.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking. Oh yeah, even Martyrs I think is a little bit further down the road too.
I think what's Ring is like 4.
98 and 02.
Yeah, it's 3 or 4 years for that. No, what
What's
is
the-
the one?
what's
Oh, I'm
the
thinking.
Grudge?
I'm thinking Funny Games. Isn't that like within
No, it's 10 years.
10?
Yeah. The
What year did
one,
Funny Games come out?
97, and then you got the opportunity to remake it in English. So he did that 10 years later. That's why it's like a
Holy
shot.
shit! I didn't
Is
realize
the,
they
is the
were
remake
far
that
apart.
older? Holy, or that much later? Fuck, man. I was thinking it was early 2000.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just forget dates on things, but yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, no, this one is very, very close in proximity. But we just had
Yeah,
one of these.
97.
Okay, so we just had one of these happen within the last 2 years with When Evil Speaks. Is that the name of the movie? Yeah. So the Shudder film.
Speak No Evil.
Speak No Evil. Speak No Evil.
Yeah.
So that one came out 2 years ago, and then we got a remake. Well, I guess it'd be 3 years now, and then the remake came out last year, which was like 2 years. It wasn't even 2 years removed.
So
it's-
this was one of the rare cases where the remake was greenlit before the film even fully premiered. Like it was in the festival circuit whenever they greenlit the Let Me In remake.
Oh, so somebody obviously saw this thing and like, hey, we need to do an American remake of this. Like,
Yeah.
They probably bought the rights when they were cheap, and it was. I remember this. That it was really big when it came out. Like that was a movie that was like the must-see movie of the era.
Let the right one in?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it
That was like
did
the
make a
Thor
lot of
movie.
waves.
yeah, that was the Thor movie I remember from that era that like always got brought up.
oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it was big. It was really big when it came out. I mean, to be fair, I think it's it's definitely one of those vampire films that stands out in the last 25 years.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it, sort of like brought some Swedish love to the forefront as well, and honestly, that era of movies, we were starting to see a lot of like other European countries put out stuff, which was pretty cool. Before we had, obviously US, UK, Australia, and like Japanese and Hong Kong. But we started seeing a big like movement of like, French and, the sort of Nordic countries and stuff like that putting out stuff.
I'm trying to think
Ireland.
what other movies came out in that era. I don't know. I'd think about it. I'm sure there's like a million we could name if I thought about it for a second.
like, what do you like Swedish films?
The only one I
Not-
could think of that's Swedish.
Not
isn't
just
Swedish.
Swedish, but like any of those European countries.
I mean,
I feel like we were seeing a lot more around that time.
obviously France.
Yeah.
I mean, the new
Yeah,
wave.
well, I feel like the French New Wave, or not New
That
Wave.
started a little bit earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that was like the thing that really cracked open like foreign films.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think like Audition, I think kind of had a big part. I remember like even in the early 2000s, that movie had like such like a crazy status. Like that was like, I remember being like 14, 15 years old, and that was like a movie people were like saying like that, like, oh, this is like, you got to see this movie. There was a band an American emo band that was named after that movie. I remember like listening to like an interview on MTV, and they're like, oh, where'd you get your name from? They're like, oh, it's this like Japanese movie, and it gets just like so crazy scary or disturbing that it like it ruins people.
Like I'm thinking like stuff like from Norway, you had like Dead Snow, Cold Prey, Rare Exports. Like we started getting a lot more of those.
I think Antichrist
Troll Hunter
came out there too. You know, it's in English as American actors or all. I guess not all American actors, but you get my drift.
Yeah,
but just
think,
in general, we were seeing a lot more foreign stuff.
Yeah, I think the West was a little bit more inviting to it, you know, than they were before. I mean, these countries were always making films, but like they couldn't, you know, to have it never did well in their own countries. That was the thing, right? So if the West wasn't picking up these films for distribution and stuff like that, it was kind of like, I think that's, you know, once the 2000s became, I mean, it was just a lot easier to see these movies though too. And I think that's, you know, how the waves start though, right? You know, I mean, back in the day, I mean, it's not like these countries didn't have great films. I mean, you got Mark Bergman and stuff like there was tons of guys out of Sweden that were doing lots of good things, but I mean, their films were only hits there because, you know, they weren't getting any distribution. They weren't getting any type of love over in the West and stuff like that. But you know,
you were starting to see these things in like Walmart. Yeah, that's where it like kind of took off, where you started seeing a lot more foreign stuff actually. Yeah, to the general audience.
Even Ingmar, like he didn't start getting attention till like, really like getting like Western world attention till the 70s when he was still putting out like some of his best movies in the 70s, but he had a lot of obviously 30 years of making movies before that.
Yeah, the only people that gave like Ingmar attention was probably fucking, you know, college and film classes.
College film students,
And even then, I don't know. Like, I mean, I it's hard for me to tell. It's like I think he started making like really substantial movies that like are still like really studied today around like the late 50s through like the mid 60s. So I don't know like how long it took for people to realize like, well, this movie is like really special because of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then that also speaks to the fact that like the primary reason that you got a remake of Let the Right One In is for English audiences who will not go to a movie and read it.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's actually one of the major reasons why a lot of these remakes that came shortly after, you know, the original film were so verbatim, because they didn't want to lose, like they knew these movies were good, so they wanted to kind of capture that, but like in, you know, in English.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I don't know, man. I've always had a little bit of an issue with this, man. Like, I mean, if you're going to remake something, I guess if your purpose of remaking the movie is just for, you know, this, you know, an English audience,
like a conversion.
Yeah, then, you know, making it verbatim, I get that. But like remaking a movie, to me, man, like you can take a general idea and just do something, because you're also making it for a different audience also, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we'll get into these remakes though. Right, eventually, yeah. But I mean, you know, exactly like what I was talking about with Speak No Evil, you know, this is the type of remakes that drive me nuts, because like the original film that came out a couple years ago, which was, where was it from, Tyler? The original it's not Belgian. It's
I think it is one of the Nordic countries. I don't know.
Belgium isn't a Scandinavian country, but
it is. I'm saying I think it is one of the Nordic countries. I'm not sure where.
I can't even remember.
I thought it was like Sweden or something.
But like the whole, you know, if you watch that movie, right, and you see how the third act plays out, and then you watch the remake and you see how that plays out, it just
it's Netherlands, Denmark.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, it is from the Netherlands. I should fucking remember that. My wife's Dutch. But like, to me, that just screams like American remake that was just didn't want to go that extra step, you know, and do what the original one did. They had to make it a little bit more friendly in a sense.
Digestible.
They kind of dumbed it down, like to the point where like they changed a major part of that film. And I just, like after you watch yours, I can see if you watch the remake first and then vice versa, I could see you having a different opinion. But when you watch that film and then you watch this version, it's literally like being on a ladder and just falling down 3 steps. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, I watched the American version of Speak No Evil, and I still haven't seen the Danish version. And I liked it, but I know that, like, okay, I think I'm the only one that has seen the Inside and Martyrs remake.
Yeah, I haven't seen the remakes.
I haven't seen either remakes either. Actually, I got sent the Martyrs remake to review, and I actually emailed them and told them I wasn't going to do it.
So
yeah,
they are
I shit you not.
Those are literally just dumbed down versions. Like, they just are. That's what they are.
Aren't they PG-13 too?
Well, that's how I feel about Speak No Evil, JP. Like, and I can't even. I've heard really, really bad things about the Martyrs remake, and I could see that being completely dumbed down because it is a tough watch. But like American remake, but then I heard the Inside one was like just as bad. Like they just dumbed it down, right? But that's how I feel with Speak No Evil. It's the same thing. Like the movie relatively is the same type of thing. But the third act is where, you know, the big bang happens, right? Like the big fucking, you know, the big culture shock, or the big shock too. And that's where it really fails itself, because I feel like they just wanted to just not be that dark about it. I'm like, well, what the fuck, man? That's what made it work so well. I just don't understand dumbing shit down.
I'm like, I don't know. Like, I think that, like, those are my least favorite kind of remakes as well, because it's like, we're not the target audience for that stuff, because we watch foreign films. We watch movies or something. Like, I
would love for
don't have a problem with that.
To become
that is a good point, though. That's a good point, JP, because I constantly forget, because I guess I'm kind of narcissistic a little bit. No, I'm just joking. But like, I forget that like every film isn't, because I think of us as big horror fans and we want to watch all this type of stuff. But I sometimes forget that all these movies are not made for me and you.
Right.
Because we're the audience that's going to watch the foreign films. We're going to watch all these obscurity type of thing. These are for the theatrical. These are for, you know, the kids that don't know that they're going to see a remake, or anybody in general going to see a remake. They're just going to watch a movie called Inside and Martyrs. You know, it's like,
like the people who went and seen Let Me In did not know. Like 95% of the people that went and seen that.
Well, dude, when I went and seen Evil Dead Rise, there was kids in there that had no idea that this was part of a franchise, or that there was other film. They had no idea what Evil Dead was.
My favorite thing was at work whenever somebody was asking me about if I ever heard of Bates Motel. Like, I'm like,
yeah, I've had a couple movies.
Like, you mean Psycho? Like no, Bates Motel. I'm like, Psycho. No, like the TV show is called Bates Motel. And I was like, yeah, it's Psycho.
You know what would have been crazy,
like,
dude?
What are you talking about? And I was like, there's a whole film series that started in 1960 that had multiple sequels and a remake that came out before this, and a failed TV pilot.
I was going to say, could you imagine if he was actually talking about the fucking made-for-TV movie called Bates Motel?
Yeah, I know. I could have brought that up. I've been like, oh, you mean the 1980 whatever fucking TV movie? Or but no, like, it's just funny that like there's that much of a disconnect with like the modern audience, the general audience, that like this person didn't even know Norman Bates was a pre-established character.
See, no,
like if I said how it ended, they probably and they were on like season 2, and then like 3 years later it ended. Like they probably would be like, what?
That's crazy to me, man, because like the whole Psycho Norman Bates thing is such a pop culture phenomenon. I mean, there's so many people that know.
Spoiled for me by the time I was like 5 years old.
It's like The Shining. Everybody knows like certain scenes from The Shining. They know certain things and stuff, but they may have not seen the movie, but they know the references. They really do.
They might not even know it's The Shining, but
yeah, but they know those things, right? But like,
exactly.
I guess it's also putting it together though too. But that is pretty wild though. Like, have you heard of Bates Motel? Yeah, man. I heard of Bates Motel in 1960.
Right, yeah. Well, actually, the funny thing about that is the first time I ever seen Psycho, it was the 1998 version when I was like 7.
Oh my God, you saw the remake?
We rented it on VHS.
Crazy.
And I was watching it And my uncle was like, I seen this before. And I was like, you couldn't have, it just came out. And he's like, yeah, no, at the end of the movie, and it's fucking spoiled the end for me. But and that's what happened. It like blew my mind. He's like, I think it was in black and white. And then we put 2 and 2 together and realized that this was like another version of that.
Crazy.
And I was just like, I had no clue that there was another like a fucking 30-year prior version of Psycho. Luckily, by the time I didn't see Psycho proper for probably about like over a decade after that, and it still was like super effective. And then I've never actually went back and watched that Vince Vaughn version ever since then. I've never.
It's really bad. Then. It's honestly kind of remarkable.
I've seen clips and I've just been like, oof.
I actually don't even own a copy of it. I never ever picked it up.
I picked up the Screenplay Blu-ray on a sale for like $8.99. Like curiosity finally got the best out of me.
I figured we'd eventually do the franchise, so I might.
Yeah, I've seen it one time. I saw the movie one time, and it was probably in '98 when it came out.
It's kind of incredible how the movie is virtually a shot-for-shot remake, and it's somehow like 100 times worse.
Dude, we've never been able to wrap our head around how something could be shot for shot, pretty much, but not be even half as good. How is that possible?
There's like one difference they do to Norman Bates' character.
The masturbation.
And they just completely ruin the character.
Oh yeah, right. I forgot about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like the one fucking shot you took, bro. You just fucking missed it by a mile.
Yeah, it's like you don't understand this character at all.
And that's actually from like a guy who's made like
Gus Van Sant.
Yeah,
you won an Oscar.
Yeah, it's like, bro, like you like nowadays. I bet if like thinking back, he'd be like, "Oh my god, that was such a bad idea. Why did I ever do that?"
Yeah, he made good movies. He's made like Elephant. He's made What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Mm-hmm. He's made a bunch of good movies. Milk. I think that's what he won his Oscar for, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild that happened.
Well, it was wild that he even did that movie though, because it wasn't really. Wild. It was kind of out of. I mean, obviously, you don't have to be, a fan. I mean, you could be a genre fan, but not make the movies. Mm-hmm. But it is an interesting choice.
That's why nobody's ever done that shit again. They're like, oh no, I ain't doing no shot for shot, dog.
I ain't falling for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand that, man. I mean, there's so many remakes that work so well. Like we talked about The Hills Have Eyes. Like a lot of people even like him better, but that's just how you do a remake. You take the general premise and you just kind of up the ante and you do a little bit more with it, or take a premise and just do something completely different with it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But
I mean, when you talk about remakes, like the best ones, right? You got The Fly, The Blob, like those ones like took the concept and brought it to life in like a new
The Fly is a perfect example of how you do a remake, right? You take that idea and you fucking just go full born with it, man. Like it's amazing. You do something totally. I mean, I love the original Fly, but the remake it's just not comparable.
Yeah,
it's just so much better.
It's so good.
It's just so much better. Like it just really is such a better movie. And I mean, fuck. I mean, you could probably say the same thing about The Blob though, too, right? The original Blob is fun. It's they take this idea, but they do something totally different with it, and it works so well.
They firmly plant it in the 80s, and it just like the practical effects, the gore, it's bigger. But to me, like I love the original Blob. Like it's one of my favorites. So even though I love the 80s remake as well, I like them about the same. Like
I actually
I know
the original one better.
The remake's probably a better movie, but that I just love the classic Blob. It's just good shit. Yeah. But now Beware.
I like the campiness of it.
I love the 50s era of like teenagers out and like something creepy happens off in the hills or whatever where this meteor comes down. It's just cool shit to me.
But you know what the 50s version doesn't have though? I mean, it's got Steve McQueen, right? Yeah.
A mullet.
It doesn't have Kevin Dillon's plumage.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that sexy hair. Like nothing will ever compare to how sexy that hair is, man. Like that makes the entire movie. Like I could just watch him strolling around smoking cigarettes and whatever. It's just, I don't know, there's something about it. His character is just hilarious to me. It's so funny.
Well, if there's one thing that I love, and I'm finding out that I love it more, is 50s movies, dude. Like doing these 1959s. I kind of love that sci-fi horror era of mad scientists and radioactive things, and just, I don't know, it's fun. It's so fun to me.
59 is a really good year though, man. To be honest, like it doesn't have an abundance of movies, but it has a lot of quality, man. It really does. Like everything from like the giant behemoth, which you think would just be some cheesy ass fucking, kaiju type thing. It's really good, dude. Like the effects in it are really good. Like there's a lot of good shit. I love that, atomic, kind of Godzilla ripoff type stuff.
The atomic age of movies is really fun to me. And I think that I've grown an appreciation for that era of films more and more throughout the years, and especially since we've been delving into 1959. Like I watched The Man Who Couldn't Die or something like that.
Yeah.
You said that one was pretty good. Yeah, that was pretty cool, man. I enjoyed that movie.
I haven't rewatched it. The Man Who Couldn't Cheat Death. I reviewed it on a 31 Days a few years back and really fell in love with it. I was like, this movie's kind of cool, man. I like it. It's
it's just, I love those concepts of the 50s.
Actually, you had watched 4D Man before I did. So I watched it like last week or something like that. I thought the movie was pretty cool. Even the effects had me like, holy shit, this is pretty good, man. But again, it was in color and I was like, what the fuck? Like, it's fucking so weird, man, because you expect most things from 1959 to be in black and white. And then when you pop in a movie, it's in color. You're like, oh shit, it's in color. It's kind of like that weird moment, but no, it actually is pretty good, dude. I picked up that one after we got 59. I knew Kino had put it out. I'd never seen it before, and I've
passed on it so many times.
Yeah,
I wish I didn't.
I got it on a sale too, and I was like, "Oh shit, man, it's actually really fun." But that's what I love about 59. It has so much love. There's a lot of good releases. So shit like 4D Man has a great Kino release. Come on, Giant Behemoth, check it out, man. It's
Warner
good.
Archive. I've seen that before. There's a couple of Warner Archives, I think, from that year. I want another release of The Mummy. Even Kaltiki has a nice Arrow that I own.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Mario Bava. That one was pretty fun too.
It is, man.
That's like such a mix match of different types of movies. Like it's pretty cool. I liked it more this time watching it than I did a couple years ago when that Blu-ray first came out.
I think you can kind of appreciate, like that's kind of like the start of like Italian horror films, but they were already ripping off things in 1959. But they still did it with a good flavor. Like, to be honest, like some of those underground or underwater scenes are shot really, really well. And like, obviously later on, I mean, it's been rumored that Bava shot, the famous underwater scene in Inferno and, shit like that. But like, you kind of put it in perspective. You're like, damn, dude, like this is 1959. He kind of did this shit underneath the water. And so and then they're in the water. So, I don't know, man. I think it's really fun. It's really fun. Just kind of, no one really ever talks about Kaltiki, man.
Yeah, when you hear people talk about Bava's movies, Kaltiki does not really get brought up.
No, it's
a pretty fun one.
Was he a co-director on it? Because I'm looking on Letterboxd, because I remember seeing this poster. I'm like, oh, isn't that a Bava movie? And then there was another guy.
Is he not the director on there?
That is Ricardo Freda.
Yeah, so Bava and Freda, he gets fucking.
Oh, it says co-director Mario Bava, but he's not credited on Letterboxd.
Freda gets credit for it. Yeah,
he's like co-director on The Crew. If you click on it, but not like as the. Not listed as like a directing duo. Yeah, because I remember seeing that Arrow. Like I recognized the poster from seeing that Arrow before, and I remember seeing that being surprised. Like, oh, I thought this was a Bava movie.
Yeah, yeah, you could definitely see some Bava in there. I think so.
Speaking of 59 and a 59 in 1992 connection that I had completely forgot about because so prepping for 1992, I realized I could not find my DVD for Evil Tunes.
I was going to say, did you watch Evil Tunes? That made me laugh too.
Dude, I could not find my I don't know what the fuck happened to it. I don't know if I accidentally got rid of it because I was just purging shit. Like a couple years back, I got rid of like, I want to say 500 or 600 DVDs. And I might have accidentally got rid of that one but I went to go watch and I was like, fuck, I don't have it. So I went online and I was like, I need to, re-get this, and then realized there was a Blu-ray for it. Oh. So anyways, I hadn't seen the movie in years. And there's this fucking great scene in the movie with Dick Miller. Dick Miller's in it.
Yep.
And he's literally sitting in his apartment. He's watching Bucket of Blood. And the phone rings and he's like talking on the phone. He's still watching the TV like it's not him. And he's like talking and shit. And then he hangs up the phone because he's got to go deal with some shit over at the fucking house. Anyways, he's like continues to watch and he just stands up and he goes, how the fuck did this guy not win an Oscar?
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. That's a pretty wild connection.
Yeah, dude. I watched that movie with my girlfriend. I was fucking laughing my ass off.
Dude, it was so...
I was like, Dick Miller's watching his own movie.
But it was just the fact that we're prepping for 59 and 92 at the same time. And I'm like, this connection is so wild right now.
It makes me laugh that like Dick Miller's at 59 and 92.
Right. And you know what the crazy thing about Evil Tunes is? Like, I honestly vaguely remember the film. Dude, it is so much fun.
It's fun. I liked it.
I've never seen it.
Actually quite well done. Like when it goes into the animation parts and stuff, I think it actually works pretty because it's low budget.
Yeah, there's not a lot of animation that's like, it makes it seem like there's going to be way more than there is, but it's just like a spoof movie. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. But it's got a decent cast. I mean, there's some big fucking names in this movie, man. It's crazy. You got some scream queens from the era. Like, it's honestly worth your time. Like,
porn girls getting naked.
Yeah, it's fun. It's super, super fun. So, yeah. But yeah, I was happy to, I guess, lose my DVD because I got to, and honestly, the Blu-ray looked pretty good. So, pretty stoked on that.
The transfer I watched looked really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not that far away
David
from
Carradine was in it too.
59. So, I think I'm probably about halfway done
on 59.
Yeah, I don't know how many do you plan on watching?
I'm gonna probably be 42, 40. No, probably 45.
I figured somewhere around.
I'm at 20. I'm at 27 right now. Actually, Parker's just in the middle of sending me a couple that I was looking for, so he's got like 4 more coming. So
Tony got a couple on NBA. I assume it was him.
I got like 40. Like, I mean, really, I'm like out of films. Like, I mean, there's only so many, and there's a few that you like literally can't even find. So, but they're foreign films, and who knows if there's even subtitles for them. Yeah. But yeah, 27 right now. I got a little bit of. I haven't watched any of the Vincent Price ones yet because it's just Vincent Price. But getting there. It's been fun prep, man. I'm just kind of weirded out about watching the Santa Claus movie in like this time of year because I never do shit like that.
What Santa Claus movie?
There's a Santa Claus movie.
Yeah. It's a fucking. I think it's a Mexican film.
What?
Yeah.
See, it's on my list.
I did not even know about that. I don't think.
Yeah, VCI put.
So I know I have a couple Mexican movies on here.
Oh shit. Yeah, it's I've never, as far as I can think, I haven't seen it. So, but it's a yeah, it's actually just called Santa Claus.
Oh, I don't even have this movie then.
Yeah, there's different titles for it. It's like Santa Claus versus the Devil, shit like that. So, but it does have a tag of horror in it. So,
so
it's done by Renee Cordova, which is really interesting.
I don't think I know who that is.
Man, this guy directed. Oh yeah, here we go. 148 movies. I knew he directed.
That's a lot of movies.
Ton of fucking shit, man.
Dude, my Letterboxd was acting crazy the other day. It wouldn't let me add titles to lists.
Yeah, it was probably updating.
Here you go, 1959 Santa Claus. Oh yeah, there's like a demon guy as the backdrop.
I'm still mad about freaking Mad at the Moon.
Yeah, it took the horror tag off, but there's a demon guy. If my backdrop on it is a demon guy, so. But it took its horror tag off.
Dude, that's just fucking horrible.
Yeah, like I have Patreon, I have like a backdrop, and like there's like a scene from the movie as like my backdrop on it, and it's literally a guy in a devil costume.
I'm at 16 for 59, and I'm at like
it says comedy fantasy family. This is the second time this has happened with the Santa Claus horror movie.
I'm at 18 for 92, which is funny because I feel like I haven't even tried to do 92. It just happened.
I shot off with a bang to 92 because I always get so excited once we get the new year, just because like I spent all this time with this one year. I just rewatched all the best movies, and I was like, I have to do the show. That like I'm like on that high. It's like, all right, let's start now.
Dude, I literally get so excited when we pull the next year. Like I just am like, dude, this is gonna be so fun to go through all.
I don't even care exactly. It's like I don't even.
And by the end, I'm usually like, oh, I'm done. Like this is miserable, but like,
I think 92 is a really good pull though. That was
oh yeah. I honestly, when we've done 91. And 94, and I've greatly enjoyed both of those. Like I've had the most fun with the 90s probably.
I think 96
was rough
on the table.
Okay, so this guy is okay. So you know those sets that Vinegar Syndrome released, the Cordova collections, Volume 1 and 2, Rene Cordova. So that's actually he's the junior. He's the son of the guy I'm talking about that directed Santa Claus from '59. So his dad directed like 180 movies, and then his son, he's a junior. I knew there was a connection there. I was like, wait a minute.
You guys are wild.
Yeah. But yeah, I know the movie was out of print for a long time from VCI, and then I think they put out a Blu-ray and it went out, but they just brought it back. So I'm happy for that because it was good timing because it just came back out, and prepping for 59, needed to see it because. But yeah, I've added to the Christmas collection anyway, so.
Cool.
So are we going to announce what we're doing next week?
It is next week.
We talked about it briefly. Yeah.
Okay.
It is, right? Yeah.
I mean, it is this week, actually, because we're actually recording on a Monday. But
yeah, so...
Oh, it's this week?
Yeah.
I thought it was the week after.
No, like, the next record date is technically in the same week, but the next show, I'll just say next show.
Yeah, I thought it was the week after, but either way.
Either way, we'll do it next show. So next we're going to do a cool thing that we briefly had... kind of sporadically talked about on a previous show where we just thought it would be a cool idea. Well, we're actually going to do it. And that is our first ever March Madness show. So if this is successful, maybe every March we'll do something like this. But it is March Madness 64 bracket modern horror directors. So we're going to go through, we picked about 64 or 65.
I think it's actually 64 exactly. It is, yeah.
So we picked quickly picked about 64 directors that all made their debut in the 2000s or after, and we're going to seed them into a bracket, and then we're going to come on the show, we're going to talk about the directors, and we're each going to place a vote. Whoever has the most votes moves on in the bracket until we crown one winner. We're going to do a fun little thing. We obviously did not prep for this or anything. Like, we didn't watch all these guys' movies like beforehand.
Yeah, I definitely want to take a look at that list.
I mean, to be honest,
I don't want to embarrass myself and have directors on there I haven't seen a movie from.
I think that we've been prepping for this show for 25 years anyways. So, I mean, there's so many of these modern directors, like, especially in like the last 15 years, that we've seen the majority of their movies. I mean, you know.
a good bit of the movies we've seen. So, and it's
the
not
ones on
like
the
a
list that have been
definitive.
around
Oh,
the
this.
longest.
What's that?
But even guys like Eli
Those
Roth,
ones-
a little bit older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys like that too, like those guys that have been around the longest. Like even if I'm not like the most giant fan of one of these guys, I've seen like 10 plus of their movies just because
That's what I'm saying. The guys that came out around 2000 or just prior, like Rob Zombie, for instance. You know?
Like I know I've seen like 12 Ty West movies.
Yeah. And these are just some of the names. Obviously, those are some older heads that are going to be on the list. But there's a lot of moderns, you know, of course, but 64. So, JP, how are you going to do the ranking system?
So the way that we're probably going to do the seating is that we're going to look at their filmographies on Letterboxd and take the average rating. And basically, whoever has the highest is the highest, the lowest seed, rather, the number one seed. And whoever has the shittiest average score will be the 64th seed or whatever. But I might make it a little bit simpler too and do like 4 number one seeds. I don't know yet. I haven't really looked at the bracket. You know how like the actual basketball March Madness, there's 4.
Oh, that's
seeds.
actually how I thought you were going to do it.
Okay. I still might do that.
Yeah, I figured like the way to do it would just be to fill out an actual like.
I think it would be a lot easier to break it down though too if you have 4 number ones, then you can it's way easier to just compile it right down from that. Right. We know the system isn't going to be perfect because we were discussing this before the show started about like, you know, if a director has like 8 or 9 films in the last 25 years versus someone that has 2, his overall total is probably going to be a little bit higher if you
average.
So you compare like Aster to like fucking Eli Roth. Like obviously he's going to have Ari Aster is going to have a higher fucking ranking than Roth because his films are going to be. He just has too many films that are probably lower. You know what I mean? It's just sometimes the quality or the quantity.
And for ties, like let's say somebody both has a 3.3 average, whoever made more movies would be the higher, the better seed.
Okay, you can do it like that too. So there has to be some type of tiebreaker type thing or whatever. But so I think that's fair enough. You do 4 number ones and then compile. That's actually really interesting because you have 4 number ones to start. That's really interesting to see how it kind of breaks down.
And you would put them on each different side of the bracket, like each quarter of the bracket.
Yeah. Exactly. So. Just like the March Madness. You can actually take the March Madness bracket, take out all the fucking college teams and just put the directors in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking awesome. Like that's pretty awesome.
The seating will actually be kind of wild because this is just a little anecdotal thing with myself. Is I do this weird thing on Letterboxd where I really enjoy my stats. So once a week, I'll go look at my highest rated directors. I count 1 to 25, and I hit the randomizer. And whatever director I land on in my top 25 highest rated, I have to watch one of their movies. And it's like my own way of kind of like weeding out who I think like very slowly over time, like weeding out my top rated director. And the people I would consider the top 2 out of the 3 people I would probably consider like the greatest director of all time, in my opinion. 2 out of 3 of them are not in the top 25 because like they made one shit bomb movie like when they were starting out, where I've seen like 20 of their movies, but I've only seen like 4 of this guy's movies. So you have someone like Ari Aster who's made like 3 or however counting it 2 movies compared to someone like maybe like Mike Flanagan's more your taste, but he's made fucking 10 movies, so his score is likely to be much lower.
Yeah, so I would actually not be surprised if somebody like Ari Aster would be like a very high seed just for the fact that he's done like 2 movies, but they're both highly loved.
Yeah, they're probably highly rated, right? And it's guys like Joe Begos too that I personally really love, but I imagine like the majority of people fucking didn't like his last movie kind of thing. And it's like, well, that brings down his rating there. So it'll be interesting. But I mean, rating, but ranking is whatever. It could be just like NHL playoffs. All you got to do is make the fucking playoffs, right? All you got to do is be seated. So,
yeah. And I honestly don't know where you guys line up with a lot of these. So it should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Yeah. We might argue a little bit.
And like also like we could just have like an opposite opinion of like what like the like quote unquote Letterboxd opinion would be.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do next week.
Like Aster Eggers.
Yeah. that's what we're gonna do next week. I think it's gonna be a pretty fun, easy, laid back, chill show. That could get a little spicy as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be laid back and chill until 7.5 fucking hours later, probably.
Which
I don't care, man, because I'm driving the next day. I'm driving at work the next day, so I don't give a shit. No, I know for a fucking fact when when we're talking about 64 different directors, but I know at first it's going to be a lot longer conversation because once it goes on, we're not going to keep repeating.
Yeah, we're not going to need to repeat the same thing. Yeah.
But
it'll also be like there'll be a lot of squash matches. You know what I mean? Like the first round is going to be so many like squash matches, probably.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to see like who ends up pairing up like later.
You get some cool stats too, like who was the biggest like low seed, like what's the biggest, gap
who's the
one?
biggest like fucking black sheep, like black horse, dark horse, like that made it farthest, you know, like what if we have like an 18 seed, you know, in like the top 4 or something? That'd be fun.
I would love to see something like below a top 32 seed make it to the top 8. That would be so sick. We did a bracket in one of my discords too. Like it was like the best movies of the 2010s or the 2020s, and it's just like there was such bracket luck with like how far some movies made it, and then like some movies got screwed. Where like movies that like everybody thought was like a 9 and better got paired together in like the second round.
Yeah, I feel like that's what happens when people do like brackets for like albums or artists or some things like that. Like all of a sudden it goes crazy. You're like, what the fuck happened to this star? Why is he not there? It's like, what the hell happened? But who knows? I mean,
and
obviously,
like I said, there's so many other March Madness type things we could do in the future if this turns out good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could do pre-modern directors.
You can pick a decade.
we were even talking about horror remakes because it's always a big conversation. Remakes, right? There's so many.
Horror used to be cool
because there's like at least 64.
Remakes would be cool because
64. There's at least 64 out there.
Oh yeah, there's definitely 64.
There's way more than that, to be honest.
Way more. Yeah, I mean, shit. There's 64 in like the first
decade.
5 years of the 2000s.
Right.
Yeah, but there's a lot of different ones we could do. So should be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's gonna be pretty cool.
What are we? 11 years in now. We're still evolving. Still adding new shows to the docket.
Yeah, even though I guess the last couple shows have been volume 2s and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah, volume 3 is found footage, Western.
Well,
it's been so long since we returned to Western and found footage and stuff like.
Well, we did a full moon show.
Other ones too.
We did full moon, which we never done.
Full moon.
Yeah,
which is surprising. It took us 10 years to do a full moon because I know we've talked about it. I mean, technically we did Puppet Master, but.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, it's interesting to think about. Like, I feel like over the past like 2 years, we started doing a lot of shows that have been like on our mind for a decade that we just never got around to. You know what I mean? So
we threw in random ones. Like we did winter horror. We did a New Year's Eve show, which we've never done before, man. So. Yeah. I mean, there's always new ones good.
And you know how we are about our traditions. We like doing we like doing traditions.
Mm-hmm,
So if we if the March Madness thing goes well, I mean, that's something that we return to all the time.
I mean, it's obviously every March, right? But then it's going to get to the point where we have Italian Horror Month. Well, so you have October, which is like 31 days, and you got your Halloween show. November is Italian. Then you got December, which is Christmas and New Year's
January,
kind of thing.
Which is the top 10, and then
top 10, and then you got fucking
we did a Valentine's Day show this year.
Every month is going to have the specific thing, man. It's a good thing there's nothing really happening during the summer. I mean, we've done summer slashers and we've done summer shows before, but
yeah, I think we did Jaws one year.
We did Jaws. We did
Piranha last year.
Yeah.
We got Piranha.
Yeah.
We did a couple of summer shows last year. Didn't we do at least 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Well, we've been pretty damn consistent over the last 2 years or whatever. Like we've pumped out a lot of damn shows.
Dude, we're almost at episode 300.
Yeah, almost 300. We have plenty more shows lined up, franchise shows, just top 10 shows. We've really been killing it. So
you know what one I added to the list the other day? I don't know if you guys ever go on there, but I added one of like prison horror films. films that are set.
I think I saw
prison.
that. I was looking the other day.
I
It
like
looked
that
they were-
idea.
It looked
It
like
was
pretty
just
much.
it randomly came to me. I'm like, man, I have never heard or
We could do Maddie, Maddie, Bathtub Shark Attack. She did she does movie nights a lot. And she did a prison themed one. And she'll make like food and stuff that's themed with it. She did a prison one a few months ago.
that's pretty fucking cool.
Prison horror. I think they
Nice.
showed prison and something else. But there's not a lot.
Yeah, surprisingly, there isn't. But I was like, we could do at least
Obviously,
one.
you have prison. That's
Mhm.
probably the most known. I like Malefique.
Yeah, Maléfique, man, the French film,
I haven't
totally.
seen that one. I remember you telling me to watch the one.
That's a really good one. That's a really good film.
Yeah, that's like a hidden gem, if you will.
Yeah.
I've been praising that one for years. I actually I brought it to Duncan's show, the summer series for 2002. Somehow I always end up on years that I've done before, but I was like, let's like Malefique is one that, and everybody on the panel was like, wow, that was a gem. So it didn't make number 1 or 2, but it did well. So yeah, Malefique. I guess maybe you could call Brawl and Cell Block whatever, sort of exploitation type movie.
Yeah, it's more.
I don't care. I love that movie. That movie's so good.
What
watched
other
that
one
movie
is
like
there?
5
I mean, they're
times since it came out.
technically like if you want to go modern, there is the platform.
That's a
You can do
prison
prison-
movie?
there's
Oh,
stuff-
the platform. I was thinking of the lift. Human
Yeah.
Centipede 3.
Oh, that's funny, dude. I don't want it. Well, we've already reviewed that anyway.
Yeah, there's not even like Letterboxd lists. Cube, kind of, huh? Okay.
there's- I mean, I think their last shift is set in a prison.
What about Death House? Was that in a prison?
I think so. The
That
one with like
shitty Kane Hodder.
yeah, the one with has like 10,000 people in it.
Yeah.
Oh god, that movie.
But we at least have
Silence
2.
of the Lambs. Silence of the Lambs.
There's at least 2 movies set in a prison. So
I mean, there's a lot of films that have prison scenes and stuff, but I would like the whole thing to be set in a prison. That'd be pretty
me
cool.
too.
Yeah. I'm looking in like a lot of the. I'm looking at a list, and a lot of them use like a metaphorical prison.
Shark and
like,
Saw Women's
I-
Prison Massacre. Does that one count?
maybe. Usually the letterbox lists are good for these. Not today.
Yeah, I know, right? That's because there really isn't many.
Yeah. I mean, like prison's the only one that comes to the top of my head. There's the one where Anthony Perkins is in it with the football player. What's it called? Destroyer. You guys know that one? There's
Oh
one
yeah,
called
yeah. I
Destroyer.
know of it. I own it, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's not good, but it's a prison movie, I guess. Shawshank Redemption. Stephen King, huh?
Maybe Nefarious. It's kind of in an interrogation room.
He's in a prison. They go into a prison. You just call them prisoner movies and do it like
Yeah.
movies.
But you could
Like
definitely do
trapped on the spot.
Malefique and prison.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be 3, right?
There's definitely another one. There's
Yeah, you
definitely
could probably
another one in there somewhere.
if we did some research, we'd probably be able to do that.
I mean, there's.
But,
I'm pretty sure Last Shift all takes place in a prison, though, right?
That's like jail.
We were talking while you were gone on Nefarious.
Oh yeah, Nefarious.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Shutter Island. Huh?
you could do different types of Nefarious
Ricky
stuff.
O, the story of Ricky at the end.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, you have tons of fucking women in cage type movies.
Oh yeah, there's tons of those.
Of like the exploitation ones. Like
There's tons. Corman did
Yeah.
like 5 of them.
What's that movie that was on my 80 list? The Ninth Configuration.
Yeah.
We've reviewed that on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I'm sure there's a show out there somewhere. But
Moodz, have you seen also you see the movie Destroyer with Anthony Perkins? That's a prison movie, right? One with a football player. Like Lyle something.
Which one?
It's called Destroyer. It's got like it came out in the late 80s.
Yeah. That movie's set in a prison. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got like some football player from the 80s.
Yeah, Scream Factory actually put that out.
Did you guys watch Joe Bob last weekend?
No.
No.
I'm disappointed in you fellas that don't appreciate some good old Joe Bob.
It's not
I watch like exclusively like dumb shit on like Friday and Saturday nights because I get drunk and hang out with my girlfriend.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. I'm usually Friday night's kind of the chill. I usually don't watch a lot of shit on Fridays, so.
He did Phantom of the Opera, the original, which I actually appreciated it more than I ever have.
The 25.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Really crazy.
I watched that for the first time this year, and
yeah.
I thought it was.
I've never been like the biggest fan of it, but I enjoyed it more with the. I wasn't the hugest fan of it.
I give it like a 7.5, something like that. But I thought it was pretty like good for what it was.
And then the second feature, what's that?
What runtime was it? Because I think I watched.
He used the Kino version because the Kino logo and shit popped up.
Yeah, the Kino has like 4 different runtimes on it. I watched the 78-minute one. That's like the fastest. The fastest.
Yeah, he actually talked about that in the actual like show. Talked about how like basically there were so many different versions that people just like cobbled together like different versions throughout time, as the film like showed in different areas and stuff like that. But the second feature was Dario Argento's opera, which was pretty cool.
Oh my god!
So he did opera.
I was going to do a back-to-back. I thought you were going to say another silent movie. That would have been a cool Joe Bob.
Well, both of them are opera-based, which was pretty cool, but like so far apart. And honestly, like Argento has gotten tons of love on The Last Drive-In. I think that's like the 5th movie they've showed by him.
That is a weird double feature. Wow.
Yeah, it was cool.
I mean, I get the theme, but like shit, dude, like
that's a crazy OG versus remake.
They talked about a lot of the different Phantom of the Opera adaptations over the years and showed like pictures of the Phantom in each one. Like everything from like, the Jill Sholin one to Phantom of the Mall to all kind of different ones.
Yeah.
Mall horror. We got to get back to mall horror too.
Oh, dude, we have to do a mall show.
Yeah.
Even like a convenience store would be pretty cool. Like just to fit Intruder into a show. And I think there was called
Splinter and Intruder.
There's that one Cornered
Shopping Mall.
That was a pretty decent slasher film. That was kind of cool. Like convenience.
Chopping Mall and Phantom of the Mall. And what was that one? The Spell? Is that in a mall?
Initiation.
Initiation.
The Initiation. Yeah. With Daniel Zugning?
Yeah, you got 3 right there.
Yep. She was in Man at the Moon last week. I was like, hey, I know her.
Yep.
Or we have
non-speaking part.
done it. We've already done it, but there's a good chunk of elves that takes place in a mall.
Dude, I love mall films, man. I mean, the obvious one is fucking Dawn of the Dead, but we've covered that.
That opening.
We've done Dawn of the Dead twice already.
Twice.
We literally did it twice. Like one of the few
openings to Fast Times at Ridgemont High when they just like loudly announce it's the 80s and show the mall is like one of my like favorite openings like at any movie.
Yeah, so my favorite movie gets more love on this podcast than yours does.
Yeah.
We've literally have only done like maybe like 2 or 3 movies twice. And
I mean, to be fair,
we did do a different version.
We did the Argento cut, right? So which makes actually a lot of sense to do that, but
yeah. I will never get tired of talking or watching Dawn of the Dead anyway. So,
No.
you know, yeah, it's fine by me.
Speaking
but, yeah,
of
the mall stuff, I want to do those.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, mall, corner store stuff like there. Yeah. I mean, Intruders, I guess it's kind of like it technically is a grocery store, right?
Yeah, so yeah.
Whatever. Corner store stuff. Splinter would be cool.
Occupation horror.
The carpenter. The dentist.
Again, the carpenter again. And the dentist again.
The ice cream man.
So I actually recently watched Dinner with Leatherface. Have you seen it yet, JP?
Oh no, it's so funny you bring that up because I saw that you log it on Letterboxd and I saw like 3 other people log it and I'm like, what the I've never even heard of this. What is this?
It's a documentary put out by Anchor Bay, who's finally, they're back doing big things.
Is it new?
Brand new. Yeah. And it's basically just it's
is it on disc or where did you watch it?
I watched on disc. Yeah, Anchor Bay.
I didn't even know about this.
Yeah.
And I'm a big chainsaw guy.
So it's really cool, man, because it really gets into like it's obviously about chainsaws, but it's about Gunnar Hansen's life. It's more about Gunnar Hansen himself.
They talk about Mosquito in there.
Everything, yeah. Mosquito gets brought up. It talks about Gunnar and it gets into like real depth about like who he really was, and like I learned so much watching that documentary. I was blown away. I
probably learned a lot too because I really don't know much about Gunnar Hansen.
I was so blown away by Gunnar's real life that I was like, holy fuck, this guy was insane. Like in a good way, like not actually crazy, but like he wrote books, he wrote poetry. Like, man, like the dude had a whole career outside of doing movies that he, did very well at. I was like, this is crazy. But like the stories that are told from everyone that he worked with, and literally was the nicest guy in the fucking world, and the fact that like he never told anybody that he was terminally ill. And the way he went out and shit, and people talk about that and they're just like, man, because he was making time right up to like pretty much the day he died with people like, I'm still doing this and trying to get people at conventions and doing this and like, oh, it was crazy, man. It like had me tearing up. I was like, fuck, man, This guy, it was really good, man. It was really good. It's like just under 2 hours. And I was like, fuck, I could have watched this for 2 more hours, man. It was really interesting to hear everyone talk about him and just be like, there was no one better. Like you should hear the shit, the stories. Like he was doing stuff. He would just go out and do it for free sometimes. Like it's fucking wild, really cool, man.
I have
fucking
to check
wild.
that out.
Yeah, really good. But Anchor Bay again. Really
That's
sad
cool
stuff.
that Anchor Bay is returning.
Yeah.
Oh, we did get some news about some titles coming out through Redshirt / Synapse.
Oh, right. Yeah. What was all announced? JP just got up. I'm gonna have to look this up.
I forgot, but I remember something cool.
So I do know that 976 Evil 2 was just announced from Redshirt, which is what the sub-label of Synapse, right? Like Synapse, I'm still confused on Redshirt because the Trick or Treat is through Redshirt, but it's Synapse sister. It's the not the sister label, but the sub label. So it was 976 Evil 2 that got announced. I still can't even find it on here. I'm just going off my head. So 976 Evil 2, Prom Night 2, Prom Night 3, Prom Night 4, and what was the other one with the porn star?
I don't remember.
So JP,
yeah,
the Redshirt Pictures is the sub label of Synapse, right? Or are they
kind of just work together? Like, from what I understand, is Redshirt Pictures is Felsher's thing. Like he created it. He's been producing special features for forever under that like name. And I just think he has a good relationship with Synapse, and they kind of are distributing his titles. So kind of a sister label thing. But Felsher, as you know, Anchor
So
Bay,
it's not actually a sub label. It's more of a sister label.
yeah, kinda. I would probably say that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all semantics. It really doesn't matter, but it's like the red shirt label is something that Felsher created with the first thing was After Effects, which was the documentary on the movie Effects from Pittsburgh area.
Yeah.
Of course, Michael Felsher has been like, you might not know who he is, but you've seen his contributions to the genre.
Right.
Because he's done some of the best Anchor Bay releases. He worked for Anchor Bay back in the heyday of Anchor Bay. He's done special features all throughout the early days of Scream Factory. He's worked with Arrow. He's worked with Vinegar Syndrome. Like, he's produced special features for everyone. He curates the entire Vestron video line from Lionsgate. Like, all those, he puts together all the discs and everything, all the features. So he's been around forever. I've been lucky enough to be friendly with him in Pittsburgh, where he goes to the Living Dead weekend. He was really close with the Romeros and George Romero and stuff like that. And he's been honestly just like a really cool dude in the thing that I never really even knew, because I always knew like the Red Shirt Pictures thing, but I never knew like the face behind it. It's just like one dude basically.
Right.
And he's very approachable if you ever run into him, and he loves talking about the stuff he's working on and stuff like that. But he's, obviously a little tight-lipped about what he can talk about and stuff like that. But what I think is cool about his stuff is he now has done will be two titles that literally everybody from Scream Factory to Arrow basically always said they weren't doing because it was too much of a mess. And that is Trick or Treat, the Sammy Kerr one. And now Fright Night Part 2, which was always a title that everybody said was.
Oh, okay. So that was the one I forgot. So when you were gone, I was trying to remember because I couldn't find it on there. And I was like, okay, so it is 976 Evil 2, Prom Night 2, 3, and 4. Fright Night 2 is the other one. And what's the one with Marilyn Chambers?
Why you put me on the spot, dog?
I can't remember the name of the title. I just know it's Marilyn Chambers because I actually love Marilyn Chambers. But I can't remember. I've never seen the movie, so I can't remember the title. So I've never seen it.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of wild that he.
Dude, he's doing. I mean, these titles that he's working on and putting out are. I mean, these are a lot of fucking grails for people, man. People have been wanting Fright Night 2 forever. People have been wanting Prom Night 2 forever.
Yeah, I mean, like those.
It's pretty
two,
wild. Trick or Treat, obviously, too.
Yeah, those two right there that you just mentioned, I've literally seen mentioned so many times as like when people are requesting titles from companies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Fright Night 2, Prom Night 2, 3, and 4, 976 Evil 2, and something Heat. What is that?
That's the
Angel of Heat.
Yeah,
That's
the one with Marilyn
Chambers
Chambers. So I don't know that movie, but I know Marilyn Chambers. But so yeah, this is crazy, man. Like
Warren, I was in it.
Like I'd mentioned before about Tom Horsball. Shout out to Tom. He did a video of some movies that he wants an upgrade for the day before they announced 976 Evil 2, and he had that on his list. It was literally on a video.
That's like a wild movie to hit on your list too.
It's so crazy that it was on there the day before these announcements came live. So pretty wild, man.
I've always liked 976 Evil 2.
Me too, man. I'm really excited to see Prom Night 2 finally get its due. I love Prom Night 3. It's like my favorite one. It's totally different tone. It's super goofy and fun and over the top, but people finally get to see it in its uncut version because that's always been the thing that's plagued that one. Fright Night 2, man, finally. Amazing. Like, these are crazy announcements.
And Fright Night 2 is like pretty fun, solid movie. Like, I've always liked it.
Yeah, me too. I think it's really good. You know, oddly enough, I actually got the Trick or Treat Blu-ray in the mail today before we.
I never actually picked it up. I need to pick up that standard edition. I know
that's what I grabbed.
Edition sold out.
No, I didn't even care about it because I was
me neither, honestly.
I literally said I'll just wait for the standard, and I'm happy with the 4K and whatever. I just haven't. I literally got it in the mail. Came on here and we're recording, so I haven't even opened it. But I think
pretty sure these are all supposed to be 4K too coming out, which is pretty cool.
Right. I think the big difference is with the Trick or Treat, you know, standard whatever. You don't get the soundtrack and the big thick box or whatever. But you know, I'm totally fine with that. I'm just happy to have a version with a better cover. I don't want the
I
Gene.
can honestly say that I don't think I've ever popped in a soundtrack that has come with my discs. Like,
I have before. Actually, I've listened to the opera one before. I've listened to soundtracks before. They came with a disc, but
yeah, don't think I've ever actually done that. But totally excited for the prom night collection, or you know, almost complete collection. It might be possible that if Synapse still has prom night 1, that they do a 4K for it or something. I don't know.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because I thought it was really interesting that they're working together and they just didn't put out the box set. Maybe they will put one out after. Who knows? I have no idea. I mean, personally, I'm fine with getting the
I'm just down with having those 3 on HD in general.
Yeah, right. I mean, especially for the people that only have the, you know, the double pack with 2 and 3. And
yeah, I at least have like the cool version.
It was 3 and 4. 3 and 4. Oh my god, dude, that is so cut. It's so fucking cut. It's bad. But yeah, you do have the uncut versions, yeah. So
yeah, so yeah, that's pretty exciting. I'm pretty like that's. And then he also teased that there's another, which he teased this to me at Wasteland as well when I was talking to him. He teased that there's 3 more Vestron titles that are pretty much done. But now they're saying that they might go to 4K. So they might start doing 4K Vestron titles.
Interesting.
So yeah, not sure what the titles are. I have no clue, but it's been a little that line's been on a little hiatus. I think the last ones were like over a year ago, I think, at this point.
Man, they tend to do this though. They put out a couple titles and then it goes months and months without one, and then
yeah, 2 of my favorite releases recently were the Silent Night, Deadly Night trilogy and the Dentist 1 and 2. I thought those were both awesome releases.
Yeah, both good ones. But yeah, they're very, very, very.
I like that they're affordable. Like it makes me like way more likely to just take a flyer on them, even if I like.
Oh yeah, they're.
Mild interest.
I mean that's completely true. Like I've literally picked these things up for $11-12, and it's at that price for a cool special edition. I'll pretty much take a risk on any title at that price.
Yeah, it's such a bummer that
dude,
that's why they don't sell movies anymore, because I would go there like once a month, and those are some of the things I'd always see there.
Okay, I'm fucking freaking out here.
What?
That AI shit was taking pictures of us pre-game.
Yeah, I saw that. That was so weird.
Dude, that post.
What do you mean? How is it taking?
Dude, I just looked at the chat here, and I saw what the pictures are, and I'm like, dude, that's us from right now. Oh no, it's not. No, because I'm running a different hoodie. No, it's from the last one. Okay, I was like, oh my god,
that's not that weird. That's not that weird. I thought it was this one too. So I thought that was pretty weird. I was like, man, this thing just like went into our Zoom without us knowing and sent pictures to someone.
But it still took pictures of the last one.
It probably just prompted like the internet search of it, like on your channel or something.
Like nobody listening has an idea of what we're talking about right now. But
yeah,
I don't want them to know.
No, it's weird. It's fucking weird. It's actually freaking us all out.
Let's just say someone created an AI bot
of me.
Of JP.
And now it's doing weird things. We'll just put it this way. It's doing weird things.
By somebody, we mean Dave Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now everyone's making friends with the AI. Like...
Yeah, like it's doing weird things.
Go wrong in a movie 800 times.
It's taking pictures of us while we're sitting here, and it's also been like adding itself to like our Zoom sessions out of
when it
like
showed up in the Zoom
3 times, man. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, it is weird. Stop with the AI shit, man. It's freaking me out. Ah, fuck. Yep.
Well, the picture like John Connor watching you all make friends with AI.
Oh man. So all these getting back to the red shirt pictures thing, are they pre-ordered through Synapse? Is that where you can get them? Is that what it is? Because I don't really ever go to the website too often.
I feel like they were on MVD shop back.
MVD? Okay.
Wasn't that where or was it Diabolic? I can't remember where Trick or Treat was.
Did the Synapse website not have it too?
I can't remember.
I can't even. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I passed on it anyways, but
yeah, but yeah, I'm pretty.
I don't know.
That's a lot of announcements. So there's no set dates for those, is there? They're just
2025, 2026.
Okay, so they pulled a.
So we'll probably
TerraVision.
see one or two of them this year, and then the rest next year.
So they pulled a TerraVision. They announced like 400 things, and it's like, yeah, we'll get those over time.
That guy said at the convention, he was like, "That was the worst fucking idea I ever had."
Yeah,
yeah, he said that on that podcast. He did too. He was like, "Yeah, maybe."
No, he told that to our face, man. We're like, yeah.
I talked to that guy for a long time. Me and Moodz.
Yeah, he was cool, man. He was cool.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I understand though, like announcing things early does make sense, but at the same time, it can be a complete headache because the backlash is, hey, when's it coming? Hey, when's it coming? Fuck.
Yeah.
I don't want to answer that every 2 fucking minutes. So yeah. Brutal. But yeah, you guys got anything else?
Unless you want to talk about hockey.
Tyler, nobody wants to hear hockey talk.
Aw.
That's coming from the American, and that's the Canadian saying that. Like, no hockey
This was
talk.
my favorite. This past week is my favorite week in the NHL with like all the crazy trades happening.
Dude, this was a fucked up week, though. You have to admit, though, some of the trades,
right down
man,
to the border, right down to the buzzer.
It was crazy fucked up.
I like how the Leafs like didn't make a move until like the last 30 minutes of free agency or of the trade deadline.
I mean, they got some good pickups, though, man.
They did. Like they were. I would probably say they probably did like the 4th or 5th best.
I still can't believe. I mean, obviously, the biggest fucking shock to everybody is Marchand. Not the fact that Marchand got traded. It's who he got traded to.
That was the only team he would go to.
But like, that fucked the Leafs so bad though, because now.
Well, did you see what happened today with that team?
No.
Actually, it probably doesn't affect the playoffs at all, but it might. But it's good for you fighting for standing position. Aaron Ekblad is suspended 20 games for a performance-enhancing drug violation.
What? Shut up.
So their number one defenseman is suspended for the next 20 games. So he probably comes back like right at playoffs, but that's your power play one defenseman.
Oh, dude, I missed that today.
Yeah, but they did pick up Seth Jones also in the trade line, so he can slot in there pretty well.
Right. But we also have Carlo from you guys from Boston. And you know what's crazy about that? Like,
he's good because I think Riley's been struggling this year because he doesn't have like a stay-at-home, like tough defenseman to back him up, and like that's exactly what Carlo is.
His numbers are down because of that, but Carlo's a fucking beast. But it's so crazy that Boston would even make a trade with the Leafs. Or make a deal with the league. Because, like, I mean, same thing. Like, this whole Florida Marchand thing to, like, Boston, Toronto is, like, it's so weird. You don't ever see that in, like, when there's these type of races happening.
I really like the Carlo and the Coyle trade, though. I think they got good returns on both of those. So I'm actually, like, I'm pretty happy. Because I don't think they're winning in the next, like, 4 years anyway. So if they get, like, with the picks they got, they could, like, I think they maybe... I don't think they're as bad as it. All really depends what happens this summer, but I don't think they're going to be like awful for more than like a season if they're even at like bottom of the barrel. But
I can't even talk hockey right now because I'm just like depressed.
It is depressing, actually.
They're in such a
I'm depressed for the Penguins too,
the Penguins
because
suck right now. But like I'm actually a little impressed with the Penguins because I've been looking at a lot of like the analytics. That's just like what I like to do. And the Penguins have been like rebuilding pretty well without like really telling anyone. It's
You say so, bro.
They have like 28 picks in the next like 3 drafts.
Really?
Yeah, they have a lot of assets. And like they're probably going to trade some where like maybe a season or two if they like the right move.
because this is what Kyle Dubas does, man. He gets rid of all the shit and then he tries to build and build. But he's also, if you notice something with Dubas, he keeps trading for all his fucking all of his old players. He loves his dudes, man. His Sault Ste. Marie players. He loves all those dudes, man. They're always on his teams. Like the Leafs had them all. Now Pittsburgh has them all. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I think they're trying to gear up to give like Crosby, not really not next year or the year after, but like in maybe Crosby's like last 2 seasons, give him a chance to win another cup.
That's what I'm hoping is going on. Like we pretty much got a clean house and just keep Crosby. And push.
Yeah, that's the thing. It sucks. Like Crosby will still be a good player, even if he's not like over a point per game. Like,
well, Malcolm's not going anywhere either. Like him and Malcolm are.
I don't think Malcolm's
they're a duo.
lasting, and I don't think Malcolm's lasting.
Letang's gone though, right?
I don't think either of those guys. I think both those guys.
Really, you think?
It's got to be one of the weirdest things in modern sports, though, to have 3 guys play together for like 20 years. It's pretty fucked up. It's pretty fucked up.
I mean, I love those guys.
Letang is a liability. Gino's like a good middle 6 player at this point that can play on the first power play, but like,
Letang, that's what I'm saying. You think they'll get rid of Letang?
I think if they're gonna trade anyone, it'll probably be Letang, but he'll probably just retire because he's been like.
I don't think anyone's gonna. Yeah.
I don't think anyone's like giving him a deal. Like the best thing he get is someone gives him like $1 million like veteran contract.
Like if Pittsburgh put him on waivers, I can't see him being picked up like next year because he's just like where is he gonna fit in? He's fit into that system for so long.
Yeah, you'd hire him to just be like you'd.
Well,
hire
maybe
him
Buffalo.
If someone gave him a contract, it would be like San Jose or like Chicago, just to put like a vet, like to play like third,
like a leadership type role.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. Like I love those guys. Like I love Gino. I love Letang. Obviously Crosby. Like I would probably like literally cry if Crosby didn't retire with us.
No, he is going to.
It would like hurt so bad.
He will. Yeah. Well, I mean, since we just lost pretty much every fucking hockey, but
the ones we didn't lose at the beginning of the show with the minor politics talk, we just lost the rest.
There was no politics talk. It was just talking about politics. We weren't actually talking politics. There's a difference. Sure. There's a difference.
There is a difference. I agree.
But yeah, do you guys want to get into these reviews or what?
Yep.
All right. Yeah. So that's going to conclude the intro. We'll be back here in 1 minute. Yo, who this?
Yo, Moodz, it's your boy, the ill-mannered funky child, calling you to remind you that the featured reviews on this episode contain spoilers.
Aw, yeah, man, that's right, brother. Thanks for the heads up, playa. Now go back to being an unproductive asshole.
Fuck you. Now tell your listeners to stop being so dumb, silly, sensitive.
Yeah.
And now, our feature presentation.
All right, so getting into the featured reviews here on episode 287, OG versus Remake. We're going to take it all the way back to 2008 with a Swedish film called Let the Right One In.
Based on a novel.
Based on a novel. That is true.
And I believe the guy who wrote the novel wrote the screenplay.
Wow.
Faithful, man.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Because there was a little bit of controversy where the director did not want the author to do the screenplay, but then was very impressed with it.
Wow. I did not know that. That's pretty good. So that probably explains why, this one came out the way it did, I guess. Probably. Have you guys ever read the novel?
I have not, but it
No.
made me want to.
I didn't even know it was based on one until watching.
Because I do know that there's more backstory on what's her name in this one? Ellie?
Ellie.
Yeah. There's more backstory on Ellie, such as how she became castrated in the novel.
Oh, that's what that is. Dude,
Yeah.
there's
So
I always thought that part was so weird. And I remember like one day, like the last time I watched it, probably like I think like a year or two ago, I went and checked. I was like, I guarantee people have to be pissed off at this part on Letterboxd. And I like went and looked at half-star reviews, and sure enough, there's a ton of people just like, this is disgusting, like complaining about that one little scene. And that makes it so, and I always thought was like, oh, that's pretty weird. And that makes it way less weird.
yeah. So when she says I'm not but I'm not a girl, that actually means more in the original than like I'm a vampire.
Wow, you know what, man? I never even thought more past that. Then that's really crazy.
Yeah, so she's actually a little boy.
That's really wild.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that. That makes that part way more.
So towards the end of the film, when she does give, what's her lead's name again? Shit.
Ellie? Oscar?
No, the other guy.
Oscar, yeah.
Oscar.
So when she gives Oscar the kiss, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole concept is interesting whenever you have that context.
Yeah. That makes this movie way more interesting, to be honest.
Yeah,
Wow.
like whenever she is in the bed when she climbs in the bed with him and he asks if she wants to go steady or be his girlfriend or whatever, and she says, "But I'm not a girl." That doesn't just mean that she's a vampire. Like that actually means that she's literally not a girl.
So I think it actually works it works really good without the context, without the backstory.
Yeah, it does. It does. And they actually struggled with that aspect of the film, like if they should include that or not, because that's like a important aspect to the novel from what I've heard.
Right.
So the backstory with that is that an elder vampire, like couple hundred years before, had castrated Ellie. So she was a little boy. And after the castration became a little girl.
So prior to being a vampire or after?
I think it was, I don't know, but I the way that I read it was that it was another vampire who had done it, like some kind of like king or some shit.
So now it's taking me down a rabbit hole because now I'm interested, because if it was done before, I mean, you can see the context, but if it's done after, why?
Well, because they did weird shit like that back then.
But if you're a vampire, why would you castrate someone after
I'm
the
sure
fact?
there's a reason in the novel that it will
Have you ever heard of that one king of Rome who had castrated that little servant boy and made him look like his wife who he had killed?
Yeah. Yep. I remember. Yeah. He castrated.
That's what it always reminded me of. Like something
there
like
was
that.
like a king that found a servant that felt like resembled his wife, and castrated him, dressed him as his wife, and like walked around
it's like the skin I live in, but real.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy.
Real life.
So in the context of the movie, is the viewer supposed to know that she is?
That's that shot where they show the genitals. There's a scar there. It happens really fast, so it's kind of hard to see what they were showing you.
I know what you're saying,
but it shows the castration. That's where you're supposed to realize that that's what happened.
Oh my god! Like, you mean the scene where he's peeping on her and he sees her muff?
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
I always thought that scene was really fucking weird. And I
Yeah,
didn't
so
understand what I
you
was
see
seeing.
a big scar, and you're supposed to take that as like, oh, this person was castrated.
Wow, it's so subtle because I've seen this movie 4 or 5 times. I've never once ever put it into perspective that that's what I was supposed to be seeing. I just thought it was a little boy curious on the girl that's in his shower, and he sees he sees her muff, which is apparently not a muff, and it's a boy being a boy, dude. It's a boy being a boy. Like that's, I get, you see, I never put 2 and 2 together at all, ever once. Crazy.
Yeah.
Not knowing the context of the book at all. I mean, I wonder how many people have seen this movie multiple times and never realized that that's what was being
a lot, because I've talked about
super
this
subtle
on another show before where I brought that up and they didn't realize.
No,
because I knew about it the whole time. Like,
because when you break it down to dialogue, when she says, "No, I'm not a girl," I mean, your mind is instantly going towards the fact that she is a vampire because she's basically decided that she's not a girl.
Well, that's
she's a vampire.
what it is in the remake.
Exactly. Exactly.
It meant both in this version,
right?
Like intentionally, like they meant that literally both ways.
So basically, you're making me hate. I don't even hate but you're making it even worse on the remake. But you're just proving my point about how everything's dumbed down in the remakes and American remakes. Mm-hmm. Because if you're taking out this context, this subtle storyline of her actually not being a girl, you take that out of it in the remake, it's dumbing it down. You're dumbing down the actual, the subtle meaning. That's crazy.
So there's also another point of contention with the original as well. Well, I guess do you want to just give a plot before?
Yeah, I guess we could probably
that's a weird place to start.
No, this happens every once in a while, though. So Oscar, an overlooked and bullied boy, finds love and revenge through Ellie, a beautiful but particular girl. There you go.
So this one also has a little bit of contention with the caretaker character in this one versus the remake, where in the remake it blatantly tells you that this is basically foreshadowing what Oscar or Owen will become. In this one, it's not quite clear if it is that situation. Because I
feel by the end of this movie, I felt like she was grooming him to become, because obviously her guardian, which is obviously not her father, who we don't even know who the fuck he is. Maybe it's explained in the book or the other material, who knows? But in this, we don't know who the guardian is. I feel like she is grooming him by the end of it. Like when they're at the end of the film, when they're on the train, you just instantly realize that like she was grooming him to become, because she knew that this guy was going to fuck up. He was tired. He was done. What happened with him? She shows no emotion because she knows this is inevitable with him. She needed someone else to fucking guide her. Mm-hmm. And she was grooming him through the whole film. I get that.
Yeah. Completely. So there's a lot of people believe that that's the case for both movies, but it is possible that, like, yes, she was grooming him, but we don't really know, like, because in the remake, they blatantly show you a picture of them when they're younger. Well, she's the same age looking, but the guy is supposed to be way younger. It's supposed to be the same guy. So you get the sense that she met him like she met Oscar. But in this original one, you're not quite sure if that was the same case where she met him when he was really young and grew up with him, or this guy's like a pedophile, because apparently the director has said that this guy likes children for the wrong reasons. So there
in the original,
in the original. So there is a level of like pedophilia aspects in the original that is you're supposed to take away from like subtext and just.
Well, I never drew myself to the whole pedophilia angle of who this person was. I right away that it's not her father. It's someone that has been helping her because, she quite obviously can do what she can do, but she wants someone else to do it for her. It's almost like she has a conscience as a vampire. It's kind of a weird concept, which has been explored in a film that we watched last year too. Very, very, very similar. Kind of interesting. But yeah, like in the remake, 100%, dude. Like, I feel like the way they play that angle, because it's very vague, it's very subtle in the original one. You don't really know exactly what this guy's whole stick is.
The big difference is you just don't know how long he's been with her.
Exactly.
Been from the
Where in the remake, they literally show you, like, I feel like they show you him as a young person, and it's kind of like a prelude. It's like
I think it's intentionally to shy people's thoughts away from pedophilia as well.
Yeah, because by the end of the film, it's the same type of deal, and he's like, okay, well, it was just a grooming thing, or not a grooming thing, but it was. They grew up. He got so old, blah blah blah, and passed on. We need someone else to kind of fill in the void, right? Where she met him at an age where possibly they were, a couple. They had feelings and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't think I ever
it's an interesting concept
as a child, but I always just figured that was her familiar. And he'd been with her for a long time. I thought that was implied.
But by not showing it in the original one, you do question it now, because now that you bring it up, this guy was in it for the wrong reasons, which is kind of a weird concept in itself, because if you think about the whole concept of an older pedophile, in it, obviously violating kids and stuff, like, why would you ever even attempt to try to violate somebody that you probably couldn't fucking defeat? Because she's got inhuman strength. She's fucking she's a killing machine.
Well, a lot of times,
or he's whatever you want to call it.
A lot of times with pedophiles, they don't forcibly rape per se. It's more of
psychological too.
Yeah, it's more they confuse and trick. You know what I mean? So a lot of times there is no fighting back because they don't really understand what is going on. But it is it makes me want to read the novel to see if they touch on that aspect at all.
Yeah.
But there is I think that the reason that it works better in the original is because they don't tell you. They flat out tell you oh, it's not that situation in this. Yeah. It could be that situation in the original. You know what I mean? It could be that this guy is into, he's killing for his love child.
But I think it's pretty obvious though, because when we first get introduced to the helper, he's so done. He's so out of it. He's so fucking past it. He doesn't want to do this shit anymore. He's fumbling around. Obviously he was not like this, because if he was with her for 40, 50 years or whatever, he's done it well for that time. And now all of a sudden he's fucking up. He's tired. He's old.
He's old. Yeah, he's old. And I think that dude, first of all, I mean, this original is shot so amazingly.
Mm-hmm.
The cinematography.
I looked up. I thought right at first, my brain immediately went to I wonder if Sven Nykvist came home and shot this. So I went and looked up the cinematographer, and it wasn't Sven Nykvist, but it was the guy that would eventually go on to be Christopher Nolan's director. So this guy went on to shoot movies like Interstellar, Tenet, and won an Oscar for shooting Oppenheimer last year. So
yeah, you can tell right away. I mean, the
framing, even the framing of the shots, there's a lot of static shots in it from a distance. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
The winter, the snow, it's just a beautiful looking film.
You know what really makes those static, kind of foreign shots work so well is the fucking sound design. It's so ominous. It's so quiet. It's so desolate feeling, even though they're in fucking Stockholm, apparently. It's weird. They're in a city, but it makes it feel like you're on the outskirts. You're in this dark and dreary area because the score is so low drone and it's so foreboding. It's amazing because that's what faraway shots do, because there's a void between you and what you're seeing.
Yeah.
And when you fill that void with nothing, which is actually a good thing within the soundtrack, it makes you feel the distance, the terror. It's absolutely brilliant. Like I was watching this movie going, this is literally one of the best movies ever made. It is so fucking good in what it does.
So, little spoiler alert for me, like when we did, the for Exploding Heads, like the top whatever 100 movies of the decade or whatever, I forget what it was.
Yeah.
But like from 2000 to current, this is amongst like the top like 5 for me best movies that have come out. Like I've always been a massive fan of this movie, and just watching it with a critical eye again, I'm just like, man, there's like only really one blemish on this film, and it's the CGI cats, which doesn't even look that bad. But
just put it this way: the CG that's used in this film is 110 times better than the CG used in the remake, which is 2 years later.
Yeah. This one, if there's one word to sort of describe this entire movie versus the remake, is subtle. Like, like you don't really see
that's
Ellie.
The biggest.
Yeah, you don't really see Ellie becoming like a like an animal. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you don't really see it, and I think that works.
There's way more of that, just like Americanized, like action horror thrown in, which that was the biggest difference to me. And the other big standout, like we were talking, the cinematography. This movie is very like grayish and blue, and like it has these wider field of depths, like we were talking about. And it really
and
like,
the night scenes are shot so well too.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, and the courtyard scenes are great.
Get to the remake. I'll wait till we get to the remake when we talk about those, I guess. But the night scenes are very well done. And there's just like there's way more. The cinematography is a lot wider in this. So like you're saying, it gives that feeling of like loneliness and like the void and that like dreariness,
desolate.
It communicates that much better than it does in the more like the American one.
Yeah, like even I mean, scene by scene, this movie is really good. Like the scene where the first basically kill that he tries, where he strings the dude up and milks his blood, you know what I mean? Drains him with his little kit and stuff like that, and then the dog rolls up on him. It's just a great scene. It's intense, suspenseful, like it's good.
It shows how old and fumbly he is, and how he's just done with this shit, man, because like he didn't even fucking save it at all. You know what I mean? Like he just, the whole shit spooked him. He was done. He fucks that whole thing up real bad. Doesn't
even realize he fucked up till he's on the subway or the tram or whatever the hell you call that.
Yeah.
And I think that another really strong aspect of this movie is the acting. That's why I was telling Tyler not to watch the dub. Did you end up watching the dub?
I did anyways.
You
watched the dub, bro? No.
I didn't.
Okay, so the dub. The funny thing about the movie is the Ellie's character is dubbed. They used a different actress for her character because the voice was
that's the argument. I didn't know that in this, but that's actually the argument I always use against like all these dorks that complain about like the dubs and giallos are so stupid. And I always say like those fucking Fellini movies you watch are dubbed too, but they're dubbed in Italian, so you just don't know. Idiot.
Yeah, so Ellie's character actually was a different actress, not the voice of that actress.
So they dubbed it in Swedish. Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess her voice was, the real actress's voice was too high pitched, but I think like the casting, the look of her is like perfect. Especially for like the fact that they could be a little androgynous, you know, a little masculine in the face at times. You know, I think it fits. And Oscar,
the more I think about it, man, the more brilliant it is actually, because like, I mean, I never put this connection together, but it actually makes a little bit of sense because she's also 13 in the movie, and most 13, 14, 15, like I have a kid that's turning 15 in a couple weeks and he's fucking fugly as hell. He looks like hell. Like 14, 15-year-old kids are just ugly as shit, and they're weird. They're in that development stage, you know, where like they were cute a year ago, and now they're just going through shit, and they're not good. Yeah, they're not good. So I look at my kid every day and go like, dude, seriously, go put a fucking bag on your head, man.
Dude,
but
you're an asshole.
But
Oscar is cast really well as too. He's twerpy, you know what I mean? Like he looks like a kid that would get picked on. He's skinny, he's small. I think it fits really well.
I think the casting of Oscar versus the remake is a lot better because, first of all, I think Oscar is a way better actor. Like, and I'm not saying the kid's performance in the remake is actually that bad.
Is the worst in the movie. Like, I think Chloe Moretz did a good job, but I think that the kid who plays Owen isn't as good. You know,
he definitely has his moments, but yeah, he's not that good. But like, if you compare the two leads, man, Oscar's performance is so good. He plays it off like he's awkward and he's confused and he's very conflicted, and you can feel the built up, you know, tension in him. And like, I mean, the movie starts out with like, you're gonna squeal like a pig, and like he has these tendencies. He's pissed off and shit like that, but he's also very kind of separated too, and you get that feeling from him too through the whole film. I feel like his character never derives from what it actually is supposed to be. You know, like he's looking for affection because, like, I mean, his mom is getting divorced from his dad. You know, he's getting bullied at school and stuff like that. Like he has all these crazy, you know, emotions that are happening and stuff. And I feel like it never derives from it.
He's kind of directionless, and he also is looking for companionship, but he's also headed on a dark path based on what we're seeing.
Absolutely, you know? Absolutely.
And Ellie preys on that. Mm-hmm. And there's also like a big debate in theories on if
I think that's why she took to him though too, because she knew that he was definitely a good suitor for what she would need, because she knew her actual suitor right now was fucking on the outskirts. Like this was over, man. We need somebody like this. And it's like when she says we can't be friends, she realizes soon after that, oh, wait a minute, this actually is the perfect fucking fit for me. It's actually quite brilliant.
Yeah, so there's some debate, and I'm curious what you guys think. So, some people think that she has no love for Oscar. Some people think that she just is manipulating and, you know, kind of preying on him, grooming him. And some people think that there is like a romance aspect to it. What do you guys think?
I mean, damn, dude, just getting different information on here. It's actually kind of a loaded question. I don't necessarily
think it's a romance, but I think it's a companionship.
Well, it's a romance for Oscar.
It's definitely a romance for Oscar.
That's what I said. Sure. It's a romance for Oscar, 100%. It's hard to tell because when you think of the vampire lore, I mean, they're fucking Walking Dead. Their entire existence is based on feeding and not giving a fuck.
Not according to her.
I mean,
he asks her if she's dead, and she says no.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest,
I don't think she romantically has feelings for him. But
so you're in the camp that she's completely.
I wouldn't say that though. I don't think she has romantic feelings for him, but I think she like cares.
I think by saying that she doesn't though is also putting into her. It's saying that she is who she is. She's a vampire. Their goal at this point in their existence, I shouldn't say life, is to survive. Do they really give a fuck?
Even though she's a kid in the movie, and like even though she's a kid in the movie, she's like not actually a kid. So
right, she's hundreds of years old.
She's 100 years old, and she understands that, and she understands.
So the power dynamic is completely wrong. You know?
Yeah, it feels impossible for me that somebody like that. That's seen that amount of living could find themselves romantically engaged to a child.
So that makes her character more insidious.
I mean,
because
physically, I don't necessarily think she's insidious. Like she needs like her role, but I don't feel like she just like her plan was to manipulate Oscar into that role. But I think it makes the movie better.
You don't think she had that plan?
I don't necessarily think that that she manipulated him. No.
I mean, physically, I can see the relationship, but mentally, there's absolutely no way. The more I think about it, I feel like she is completely manipulating and grooming him for a process which is going to benefit her, because given the age gap, which is like hundreds of years, she's seen it all. This is a mental thing. Physically, yes, they could have that relationship because he sees her as a 13-year-old girl. Mentally, she's seen it all. She is done with this. She cannot mentally be with this 13-year-old kid that is telling trees to squeal like a pig. 12 years old, doesn't matter.
Even younger.
Yes.
But I mean, if you want to look at it like from a fucking Freudian, standpoint, I mean, dude, like she's literally hundreds of years old. Mentally, physically, she's not that. So what does that say? Is she the fucking pedophile here if she's in a relationship with him? Yes.
Kinda.
So you could look at it like that. Like you could look at it from that aspect too. That's why I'm saying that she couldn't be involved. It's purely a grooming thing. The more I think about it, I'm loving this conversation right now. This is actually absolutely brilliant. She totally groomed him through the whole film because there's no way that she could ever be with a 13-year-old kid when she's been around for like 300 years. There's no fucking way. There's no way. She knew that this kid had he was everything that she was looking for. A mentally disturbed kid that was willing to fucking he was out of his direction because his parents are, he's willing to leave. He's willing to kill. He's got the anger. He's got everything that she's looking for in her new, well, I guess
caretaker,
I guess is what you call it. It's just weird when you put it in perspective with the 13 or 12 years old, but yeah, caretaker.
So in that case, is the other dude, the original caretaker, like you get the sense that he's in love with her as well, right?
Yeah. But he's tired,
Yeah.
No,
he's tired.
The more we've talked about this, I feel like maybe it was an Oscar. Maybe it is just supposed to be an Oscar situation with him. Maybe he felt like that at one point, and then like now, and like the relationship evolved where it was like, this is like my child. I don't know. This is really complex. The more you think about it, I guess I never really gave that much thought.
But if you look at it from this perspective that the remake puts it in, where they show a picture of her with obviously the caretaker at a younger age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now he's old as shit. If you put that in perspective into the original one, it gives it a whole totally different meaning. Even though it might not be implied, like we see that in the remake. Mm-hmm. It might not be what it is in the original one, but if you take that aspect, it's kind of fucked up, right? Maybe she just moves on.
I guess I only looked at that part as like maybe as like a father, like that like grandfather father daughter type relationship. I guess they just name it.
It's definitely not that. It's definitely.
Well, I guess that's just how I always just like approached it, and it's
right because that's the normal way to approach it. Like
I think in the original one, it's a lot darker. I think maybe, but
it's ambiguous, so it's like you can still think about it. However,
I mean, there's the one scene
more you can discuss to it.
It's super ambiguous because the way I perceive it, like if this guy was what we're projecting him to be, maybe a pedophile or whatever, he was in it for different things. If he wasn't there from the beginning and grew through this, like, man, I don't know, man. It's like a fucking head scratcher, dude. It's like a head scratcher.
We definitely know that it's not just a guardian relationship, because of the scene in the window where he essentially sacrifices himself for her. I think that the way he does that scene, he's in love with her. Like, I don't think that it's like, I love you like a daughter scene. I think it's like, I love you and this is us saying goodbye scene.
But I also take it as like when he pours the acid on his head, like he's fucking done. Or is he just afraid of being caught for who he actually really is?
He doesn't want to draw attention to her.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't want them to find out who
he's
that is.
He's a complete slave to her.
Yeah, it's point. Basically like it's like the same type of like. But
I think it's because he's in love with
a suicide cigarette or something.
See, if you look at it from that
I guess I
vantage
never
point, it's kind of fucked up. Like I never thought of it completely like that.
Even the way she like kind of gives him a hug at the end there, like I don't know, like
I guess I'm kind of in the middle of the because like I feel I still do I don't know maybe I just don't see it that way. Like I don't see like he at this point in his life he's like in love with her like that. But like I feel like it's just like this is the end of like
well if he is,
but it also could be he's at the point now where it's so far gone that there was once a time where he was violating and loving her and stuff like that, where he's done with the killing, he's done with all this shit. Then this is why he does the acid thing, and that's why he gets rid of himself and stuff. He's like, I'm fucking done with this, kind of thing. But I mean, it's speculation at this point. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to really look at it though, because you don't really know exactly what this character was ever there for in the first place. Maybe he was there for maybe he was groomed into that, who knows, but maybe he wasn't. If he was Oscar too, like if it was like in the remake where he was a young boy when he met Ellie and grew with her all that time, while Oscar loves her too, so it probably would be that they were in a relationship going steady. If I mean, the remake is also an interpretation of what we could have been seeing in the first one, though, too, right?
Yeah. So the remake,
right? Because it takes it one step further, and it actually kind of shows that this caretaker was someone that was young. So it does that, but it's not necessarily what happened in the first one. We don't really. It's all speculation. We don't really know.
Honestly, I think outright showing like him being the original Oscar, like as a young boy, makes me more inclined to think it's more of a straight manipulative thing.
Yeah.
Then then to me it just seems like a cycle or a pattern.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think that by the end of even this one, we are led to believe that it is a cycle, but we just don't know how far back that particular character, the original caretaker, how far back his cycle started.
Right.
Like we don't know if it was when he was a child or when he
it changes everything if it started when he was, a child.
Yeah, I don't think
if he was a 13-year-old and grew up like that and doing that type of thing, and then it's just that cycle. But it's speculation. There literally is no evidence in the first film that we could ever see one way or the other.
Like outside of the film, the director saying that guy, the caretaker, likes children for the wrong reasons. That's the only type of context we have for it.
So the director actually says this. You would never as a viewer, you would never think that it's kind of weird actually, because like when you watch the movie, you think that this person has just been doing this so long that he's just, obviously it picks up right when he's fucking tired. He's old and he's just, I can't do this anymore. It almost feels like he's a slave to her, right? So if you're looking at it from the vantage point of
he's a slave to his devotion, like he accepted, like this is my life, and I think like throughout the time he spent with her, like the dynamic and like how his feelings towards her and the way he viewed her probably changed. That's what I mean by like by this end of it. Maybe like if we were to suppose that he was like an Oscar, maybe it was exactly like that at the beginning. But at this time, like when he finally like dies, I don't think he has like romantic feelings for her like in that way. But I think he like loves her like the. Like,
but it all changes. It all changes if he was young or old, right? It totally changes the dynamic of what the story is.
I'll read what I read, so you guys, so I could just read it. Many of the minor characters and events from the book were removed and focus directed primarily on the love story between the two leads. Particularly, many aspects of the character Hakan, including him being a pedophile, were toned down, and his relationship with Ellie was mostly left for interpretation. Alfredson felt
better that way.
I mean, right away that he's not the father, because they say that, like, they say father, but right away that that's not a father-daughter relationship. So there's something there.
So Alfredson felt that the film could not deal with such a serious theme as pedophilia in a satisfying manner, and that this element would detract from the story of the children and their relationship. Still, the film provided a few hints, of which Alfredson mentions one of the director's comments: Hakan likes children for the wrong reasons. Right. So it sounds like they mostly removed it, but there might be some hints in there that suggest that he is.
Well, I mean, if the director's talking about Hakan as being a pedophile and he was there for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, that
it
also
doesn't.
would make me
It honestly kind of makes it a little bit worse for me in the fact that like he was still a slave to her grind, and like he kept doing it because if he was in theory the fucking bad person here, because we're dealing with kind of two bad entities here. If in theory he is the bad entity, why the fuck didn't he just get the fuck out of there if he was getting all tired? And like, why? Like, I mean, is he that devoted to one child? Like, I mean, you're a pedophile, dude. You don't have feelings. You do whatever the fuck you want. What I'm thinking, it honestly doesn't even make a lot of sense to me.
I think he has like feelings for. All right, let's just go down the pedophile rabbit hole. I think that would imply if we're taking this, like, let's say if we go with this storyline, like this aspect of it,
right.
I think to me that would imply that it is like he does like have like those like I love you feelings for her. That would make more sense to me at that point. And it also make me feel like that was definitely she was more manipulative, because to me it feels like she's taking advantage of this guy because of whatever urge or illness he has.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And she's like looking for an escape route. She's like, I'll just take advantage of this kid too because he's a dumb kid.
It is, but like you look at it both vantage points. It's like pedophiles. I get pedophiles can probably have feelings for one individual and stuff like that too. But like when shit in times get hard and stuff, why the fuck we need to just move on? You're already an evil piece of shit anyways. So why not just go do something else?
I don't think pedophiles think that they're evil pieces of shit though. That's the problem.
Okay, so it's definitely the vantage point of me looking from the outside in. I'm like, I just don't understand the pedophile mindset.
You got people
on
the internet nowadays saying we should call them MAPS, minor attracted person.
Oh, get the bro.
But still, if you look into any type of relationship, given a child pedophile relationship or whatever the fuck it is, I mean, there's still an aspect of a mentality there that, like, I mean, even a pedophile will be like, hey, fuck this. Like this shit's a little bit too hard. It's getting a little bit too risky. It's so too crazy for me. Like, well, why play it out for so long until the point where
that's like, why I think that he's in love with her. That's
why you can look at it like that way, and that's probably where I'm more inclined.
Well, that's where you have to put it though, because why else would he still be there?
That just would be consistent with his character. And you could also say maybe like he knows there's no escape. If he tries to escape, like she's just going to find him.
So we're in agreement that he was not groomed. He was obviously someone from the outside that came in.
I'm not sure still.
Yeah, it's really that's I honestly like it makes.
But we can't have both though. He couldn't have been.
You can say, "Oh, I say that about all movies all the time." Like I don't know. Maybe this is what it means. I mean, that's.
But it can't be both.
I know, but it's like
it can't be.
Most pedophiles were groomed.
No, I'm just saying if you look at the remake where, obviously, there's the whole child thing.
I think the pedophilia aspect is completely removed from the remake.
I'm just saying if you put that into contrast, right? Of, how we get to see the picture of the helper.
Yeah.
And, how we grew up and, that's, we got old and stuff, right? If you put that into context in the first one, it's like it kind of changes the aspect of being a pedophile, because
pedophiles were kids once too.
Yeah.
It's so weird how my mentality is. I've never thought of like a pedophile being the same age as somebody. Like I couldn't imagine like a pedophile being 13 years old and fucking a 13-year-old. Like at that point, to me, that's not being a pedophile because you're the same fucking age.
At that time,
but that's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying.
Older.
But that's what I'm saying. Going back to the whole. That's what I'm saying. Going back to the whole thing. So she gets turned at 13 years old.
Look like children to me.
And then he grows up and still loves her. It's
this episode is for surely not getting monetized.
It has to be one or the other. Like it honestly has to be one or the other. He was either in love with her when they were 13. She got turned. Something happened. We don't know the backstory, whatever. Or he came in as an older occupant and, obviously the whole pedophilia thing happened and stuff. I can't see it being them being young and growing in. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Because if you're 13 and 13 and you fall in love with each other, you can't be a pedophile because you're a teen with a 13-year-old. It's impossible.
Well, I mean, you can kind of. I love 12.
No, you can be a rapist. You can be a rapist. You can't be a pedophile because a pedophile states that you're overage fucking younger people. 13 and 13, you can be a
But
rapist.
does he have attraction to young looking people? Like, because that is essentially what it would be.
Okay.
You know, like
Sure.
even if I was with Ellie when I was,
But I'm just
12
saying,
and
if
I
it
became
started
30,
at one point,
I would
Yeah.
be fucking grossed out because it looks like it's a child.
but I'm just saying, if it started at, say it started at a certain point, they're 13 apiece. Obviously, she's not going to change and he's older, but I mean, it could turn, I mean, from the outside looking in, it doesn't look good when you're 30 years old, fucking a 13-year-old. But if you were 13 and 13 at one point, that's
But
normal.
they're not now, though.
Yeah,
I know. I'm saying,
One
I'm just,
person got older and the other person didn't. But still, we make the same argument for.
but it's
Ellie
the whole
and Oscar,
mentality
too.
thing of like the vampirism, though. It's like, it's that whole thing. It's like,
But-
we were both 13 at one time, and then I just grew up, and like to him, I'm not trying to make excuses for a pedophile. Don't get me
Right.
wrong. I'm
But
just saying.
if there was an attraction there to somebody who looked, despite what their mental capacity is, if there was an attraction to somebody that looks 12,
Right.
then you're a pedophile.
Right. But that's where
just wanna
that's
know
where the
it's like
that's where the ambiguity of the story is so intriguing, because if he was a child with her, it changes the whole perception of how I see the film. But if she was a child and he found her when he was older, it's totally fucking different, right? It's two different scenarios, in my opinion. That's what I'm saying, but we don't know.
Or it could be a combination of both. You know, you don't know, but it's interesting. Any of them are interesting.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think there's like 40 different backstories, or 40. Like, you could totally tell this thing so many different ways and be so super interesting. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's really baffling. And this is what makes we just dumbed down the remake like 9 points right now, because they just straight up just did it so kosher. They just did it so PG. They just did it so modernized Western world American style. You know what I mean? This is exactly what I'm talking about with like remakes of dumbing down the shit and not being risky.
What do you guys think of the scene where so we have another like subplot almost where like there's a group of like the people that live in the area that sort of get together and talk about things. And one of them gets attacked by Ellie and becomes like kind of sick. Obviously, that's why Ellie snapped the neck of the first victim of hers, so they wouldn't turn.
So they wouldn't turn, yeah. When he attacks when she attacks the woman.
Yeah. So that person lived, and what did you guys think of that?
I mean, the end result of that whole scenario is amazing, because what happens in the hospital bed is pretty fucking awesome. And that's actually one contrast I wanted to mention actually with the OG versus remake thing, is that they do that scene in the remake too, and it looks so goddamn bad compared to the original one. Effect wise, I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, it's 2 years newer. You think you would have done a little bit.
I didn't think it looked so bad. I thought they both looked decent. The original I prefer.
It's just like in the remake. Same with her when she's running up the hospital walls. And actually, even in the remake, man, like every time she attacks, man, like that CG, that really
it's like very animalistic, and I think it takes away from the film.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to see that. And
no, it's too aggressive. They went too aggressive with it, and it didn't work because it looks fucking phony.
Like, I like the idea of this.
They just tried to ham it up.
Well,
the
problem with how the remake does it too is that it almost eliminates the need for an assistant, other than just being lazy.
True.
If it's just a little girl with normal, like, little girl type strength and things like that, maybe like a little bit more of like the like supernatural aspects, but it's mainly just a little girl. It makes sense why she would need a handler, like somebody to help her. But in the remake, if she turns into like a superhuman fucking creature, it makes less sense.
Yeah, it's that easy. It's like it's easy for her to just go feed herself if she has to.
Like, whenever she attacks people in this one, it's like ambush style.
Yeah.
Right? Like she pretends to be like a sick, like homeless little girl under a bridge and lures the guy in and then attacks him. She hangs on a tree and drops down upon someone. Like it makes it seem to where it's like tough for her.
And she's not like ripping these people up and like taking them down. Like she's like outmatching these
she's
people.
Basically
like,
surprising them.
Yeah, it's just like regular people and they're like struggling the whole time.
Yeah. So what I said, Moodz, is that in the original, she has to essentially ambush people. When she's under the bridge, she's pretending to be like a sick, homeless girl. It gets the guy real close and attacks him.
Yeah.
The other girl, she drops down on her from a tree. It feels like it's much harder for her to get the blood on her own than in the remake. It makes it feel like she's capable of doing all that by herself, and it's not hard.
Yeah, they portray the character a little bit more animalistic, right?
Yeah,
like,
it makes less sense to have a companion helper.
Exactly my fucking point with the remake too. It feels like they portray her as somebody that doesn't really need to have that by being so animalistic. Like she's just over the top crazy fucking with their shit. It works so much better in the original, man. The bridge scene's a great example. Like she knows at this point, like she's hungry as shit. Her helper not doing too well, not very good at his job anymore. She has to do so. And this is like, it forced her into it. And that's why she kind of plays. She's very subdued in the idea of doing it, which is a whole nother story in itself too. It's very interesting that exploring this aspect of a vampire that knows the only way they can live is by killing and, getting blood and stuff like that, but not willing to do it. It's an interesting concept. That's why I
think it's two parts. I think it's the will, like she doesn't really want to kill people and drink their blood, but it's also difficult for her to do it as a child.
Well, I think it's because not only does she look like a 13-year-old girl or 12-year-old girl, she kind of like, obviously she's not fully mentally a 13-year-old girl, but she's still, to us, she's like a 13-year-old. I think that's how it's kind of being portrayed.
One of those situations where she has to always pretend to be a 12-year-old girl. So in essence, she kind of is a 12-year-old girl because she has to live that life as a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. Yeah. So I think the differences in portrayal of our vampire character here works so much better in the original. Yeah, it really does. Yeah.
Do you guys, I can't think of it. Do you guys have anything else on the original?
I mean, to be honest, you want to talk about the movie itself, like it is shot so beautifully. I think the ominous, score to the film works so well with the dark cinematography. It's shot really, really well.
The location is really good. There's so many scenes of out in the like courtyard of untouched snow with little trails like outside of it that just looks so beautiful. Mm-hmm. I love that look.
I feel like I just love the isolation of the whole film though too, like with our main character too. Like, I mean, they live in this apartment complex, but it just feels so isolated, right? Because, we know that he's being bullied and stuff like that. He doesn't really have any friends and stuff. But like it's a complex, but you don't see anybody else really around ever. It just feels like he lives in this kind of like, ominous world, this very kind of like desolate area, which isn't really the case, but it's kind of showcasing his mentality. This is where he is. He's in this place where there's nothing around, right? He feels lost. He feels in a different dimension, not only in his own fucking house. He feels like we see this in the courtyard. We see this at school. He's getting bullied like shit. I think some of my favorite scenes actually is where, again, going back to the whole grooming thing where, Ellie is telling Oscar to stick up for himself. You need to stick up for himself. And, he's been bullied by these fucking dickheads.
Yeah, there's also theories that has nothing to do with her wanting him to actually stand up for himself, but more to start nudging him into violence so that he can eventually do
Yeah.
the things that she needs.
That's
him to
what
do.
that's what I just said. I feel like it was part of the grooming thing. Like her saying this shit to him is like, is initiating him because he already has it in him. She knows it because she's seen him stab a tree, say the things he's done. She knows the aggression he has. She knows the mentality that he has. He's not right because, you know, obviously family life can be a big thing. Bullying is a big fucking thing. We all know that. But yeah, everything plays a part in this. Everything plays a part. It's almost like a slow burn to it too, and it's so well done. It's really
That's definitely a slow burn. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a it all these pieces of the puzzle kind of fit together by the end of the film. When you see the end shot, you're like, yeah, man. Just that fit like a glove. Even OJ is saying, man, that fit like a fucking glove. So
yeah.
It's honestly really well crafted. I mean, the remake is a completely different film. Obviously, it's dumbed down in content a little bit too. But I mean, there's things in the remake I do like. There's a lot of things in the remake I don't like. But I mean, one thing I will state that I prefer a lot more in this movie is the score. I love the way this thing is so damn quiet and it doesn't really have a lot of noise to it. The acting is fucking brilliant. I think Oscar is so damn good in this film. He just portrays that 12, 13-year-old boy that's just lost in reality. He's lost. He has no touch. He has no touch. You know, he's looking for something. And
yeah. Actually, speaking of score, there's a scene where they actually like descored the movie, essentially. Like the lack of noise is better.
Yeah.
So the scene where Ellie comes in without being invited, which is such a great scene in general,
it's brilliant.
I've always wondered why they had to be invited, and it was pretty cool, like, way to handle that.
I think it's actually one of the first times I ever saw it in a film where you saw the result of them not being invited. And she did it purposely to show him, this is why you have to invite me in.
Yeah.
Because she knew that he loved her and that he would save her. She knew if he didn't say, you're all right to come in at that point, she would die. But she trusted him enough because she had groomed him that much. Man, this movie's so damn good.
And it's also that there's also like the idea that maybe she's sort of conditioning him to see bad things as well, but also to make him have like a hero complex by saving her in that moment. You know what I mean? To need to be there to help her, to save her. You know what I mean? To be her helper, hero, you know?
Yeah.
But I guess when they first filmed that, they weren't going to do that scene, apparently. And when they had a score over it, like, that said that they thought it took away from the like impact of it. So they cut that out or whatever. I read that as well. So yeah, but I love that scene. I think that scene was really well done.
Yeah, it got me thinking watching this film this time, and I was like, man, I don't remember ever seeing the actual outcome of not being invited.
That was one of the most impressive things when back in 2009 or whenever I watched this for the first time.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I took away from it, like first. So I was like, wow, like that was a thing that I've wondered about since Lost Boys and never seen it handled in a movie, like what would happen. And I was like, they fucking nailed it. And that's when I was like, man, like a subgenre that's literally been around for, you know, nearly 100 years at that point, to sort of do something new with vampires is super cool.
I thought it was actually a really interesting aspect. There's a very subtle moment in the film where Oscar says to Ellie, where they're sitting in the courtyard, and he goes, oh my God, I just started thinking about it, man. That's so crazy. He says to her, he's like, you stink. He's like, or you smell funny. And that actually prompts her into the next scene to kill the guy underneath the bridge. And then she even says to him after, she's like, do I smell better now? And he's like, just kind of reacts like, yeah.
Oh, because she was starting to die.
Well,
Does it
I
just
guess
smell bad, or-
I guess the theory is when you're a vampire and you're not eating, you start to like rot. Basically, you start to like fragrant.
Yeah.
You get a bad fragrance about you and stuff like that. So like Oscar saying that, it noted to her, it's like, I need to do something about this. But the next scene is basically her doing this to get that trust. Like, oh, do I smell better? She makes a note of saying, do I smell better? And just, yeah, you smell better.
Yeah, I did this for you.
I did this for you without saying that, right? So that's another really interesting. Wow, it's crazy. Damn.
Yeah.
It's really, really fucking good, man.
We gonna get into ratings?
Dude, I love this scene though. I love the scene in this film where they saw the body out of the river, and it comes up in it's like this huge block
it's
with
in a
this
little
dude
block
in it.
of ice, with his like, legs and arms hanging out.
Honestly, man, the effects in this, like, I think this movie works really good with being like, it's not like overly gory. There's a lot of blood and stuff. I wouldn't say there's really a ton of gore.
No, it's not.
The acid is like the most gory thing.
Well, the after effects of it, we get to see like the after effects and stuff like, but there isn't really like a lot of gore within, the kills and stuff like that. There's just a lot of blood and, there's things like that, but it works really good, man. One of my favorite aspects of the film though, is actually the whole Morse code thing, because that's like a total, like, that's a total friendship thing. If you're willing to learn Morse code and like do that, it's again part of the whole grooming thing. Like, she didn't initiate that. He did because he wanted a friend, but she plays along, and this is what we're doing. And it shows, and it plays right out into the last scene in the film on the train. What is the last thing that we see them doing? Morse code. Friends forever, man. Friends forever. It plays right into it, man. Like, it's just constant through the film.
Yep.
Really, really good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we go on forever about this. I'm just blown away. Yeah, I thought we were going to talk about this movie for 20 minutes. It's like, oh shit, like, but
I did a lot of already comparing.
Yeah. The remake's going to be way shorter because we have.
Of course. But it might circle around though too. So, but again, this is where the versus comes in though too, because okay. Anyways, well, let's get into ratings on this one, and then we'll get into the remake. JP, what do you give this one?
So after careful consideration, I've always been a pretty big fan of this movie. Every time I watch it, I literally think that it's amazing. Like I said, there's only really one blemish on the film for me, and that is like some of the CG with the cats. But I can live with that. It doesn't take me out of the film or hurt it too much. And I just think that it's one of the best horror films that has come out in the last 25 years for sure for me. And I've given it this rating since I first seen it. I don't give this rating often, but it's a 10 for me.
Even with a blemish. Wow.
Even with a blemish.
Tyler, what do you give it? All right. He gives it a 7. So no,
I'm not going to give it a 7. So I did look this up, and this is just my list how it would have been in 2022. I'm not necessarily holding my same opinions of this, but I was curious to see how many movies landed before this that came out this century on my Top 100. And the answer for me was I had 16 that landed before this.
That's actually not... I thought there would be more, honestly.
I don't know how it would how it would come out, because I'm like looking at this list like with my eyes now, and it's atrocious. I have way too many new movies on here, so that just shows you you're biased when you see new movies. Because there's way too many movies. Like, I did this list in 2022. There's way too many movies from like the previous 5 years on this list. And there's some movies I definitely would put it ahead of now. But anyways. This is one of those movies that it's never one of my favorites, but I think just like our discussion definitely raised it a little for me, because there's a lot more ambiguity to this movie, I guess, than I really realized, given the information I didn't have earlier. So I think that definitely elevates it for me. And I guess I'll go to a 9 from an 8.5.
Yeah, I'm also at a 10 on this one.
Okay. It's pretty good. That's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, it's a Hall of Famer. So we had a Hall of Painter last week to a Hall of Famer. It's, doesn't happen very often, but this week.
Yeah, some of the movies.
Man, the bullies in this movie were they were dicks though, man. Like, honestly, the scene where they throw his fucking pants in the urinal, I'm like, fuck, man. This is mean. That's just mean, dude.
What year did you do that list for Exploding Heads?
2022.
I can't remember when I did it.
You would have done it at the same time.
I feel like it was 2020. I have one from 2020, I thought.
Maybe that was a different one then. But this one was for 2022, I did.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I don't know if I participated in that one or not.
But yeah, I had it. But there's some movies that like I would give like a 7 now that I have on my list, so that's like silly.
What was that episode, Tyler? What was it for?
I think it was 200 for the subscribers.
Okay, I did one for like 100, which was the top from 2010
Oh, I did one of that too, but I don't have that list. I wasn't even on Letterboxd yet, I don't think.
Makes sense.
But this was of all time though. That's what I mean. I have way too many like modern movies.
Yeah, I actually don't think I participated in that one.
Like, yeah, I have way too many movies that came out.
Well, I'm glad that we were able to point out some stuff that maybe you weren't privy to.
It's like maybe it's because it's just never been one of my favorites that I've never like really like given it that much thought. But thinking of it like that, I also never knew what that scene was with the castration. So that was also something in the movie that I just thought like that was fucking weird that they put that in the movie.
I always looked at that scene as that's a normal teenage boy that's trying to get a peek at his fucking girlfriend.
I looked at it like that, but
I mean that's pretty really fucking natural. But that's the way they
project. For them to put the shot in the movie that they put in the movie.
Oh, of course. But you have to remember
because in the remake they do the same scene, but they don't show the shot, right?
Yeah.
He looks in the door, but it cuts back to him walking away.
But honestly, this whole movie, I mean, if you wanted to compare films and the way things are shot and stuff like that, like this is one of those weird films where it opens up with Oscar pretty much naked. Right. There's a lot of scenes in the film where he's in his underwear. There's a lot of scenes where he's got no shirt on, is stuff like that. Like, it plays out through the film quite often, actually. And then, of course, he's in bed sleeping. And then she gets into bed with him and she's naked and stuff like, and then we get that scene. It's just like, if you're watching it from that surface value, you're seeing a 13-year-old boy trying to peek at his fucking girlfriend. You really are. Mm-hmm. But on the outside,
which is still what he was doing.
Yeah,
absolutely is what he was doing.
It was just that they showed that shot was something that always like kind of like jarred me. Like that was just like not necessary. That was really weird.
Yeah, like if it wasn't a castration situation, that is a weird thing to do.
See, I actually have it noted like in my notes. I'm like, I still can't figure out how did I write this? What is up with the vagina shot?
That's why I thought
because like, obviously you're dealing with kids. You're never gonna see it. And I made a joke. I made a joke in parentheses here about it's like the opposite of Victor Salva.
Just
like I've seen enough old European movies that like the whole like non-sexual nudity with children. It's not that weird to me because I've seen enough old movies that like
exactly. I mean, it's very common to show that type of shit, man. Yeah.
Yeah, but the way that shot it's in the movie, that one always just fell.
Well, actually,
like, why is it in the movie?
So, did you come in higher than you initially were before we started talking about the movie, Tyler?
He did. He went up for me.
I was gonna give it an 8.5.
That's what I like to hear.
Conversation, I like because it added a whole nother layer to me, and it's. I was actually thinking even before we talked that the movies were more similar than they were. And I kind of thought, well, this movie actually, like, you couldn't have this discussion about the remake because it outlines things,
right?
Clearly, and this one doesn't. And that's like always something I like complain about that movies don't do is they give you too much. But I'd rather a movie like this where there's like I don't know how I feel about any of the characters, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It is kind of interesting how this shit came full circle, though, man, about like how remakes sometimes dumb down their shit to the point where
it made the remake. I'll say it made the remake worse for me because I thought they were closer.
I actually 100% agree because like I had never seen the remake before. This was the first time watch for me.
Actually, me too. It was the first. I never watched it when it came out.
I saw the remake like right when it came out, and I liked it. I figured I was going to come down on it, but at the time I thought it was pretty good. I didn't think there was like a huge gap between the two. But I only watched the remake that one time.
I
never
also thought like, okay, after watching the remake this time, well, the first time, I was like, okay, like that, like it's definitely a lesser version, but I still think it's like a pretty good movie. But after talking about it, I still don't think it's a bad movie, but I definitely think that talking about the original in a review context has made me think less of the remake than I had initially when we first got on tonight.
Yeah.
So with that said,
all right. Well, that is Let the Right One In from 2008. All right. So moving into the remake from 2010, directed by Matt Reeves.
Who I don't know if he's in our director thing, but I know he made Cloverfield, right?
Yeah, I think that's the dude that
he made Batman, the one that came out.
Yeah, the new Batman, the good that was a great Batman.
I thought it was very good. When people were shitting out, I was like, "You people are."
Oh, this is the guy that did Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes. Shit, fuck, this guy's doing some big movies. Damn, how the fuck did he go from Let Me In to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War? Wow,
he probably did this for like hire and just said like, hey, this is a movie they hired me to do. I can shoot a movie competently and work with the crew. And they're like, all right, we'll give you a shot. If you're doing
Believe
movies
it or
like
not, there are a lot of people who prefer this version. If you look online, that
doesn't really surprise me.
Yeah, but a lot of those people are probably Americans and they love fucking what's her name, fucking Chloe Grace Moritz.
I mean, I like Chloe Grace Moretz.
I mean, I really like Richard Jenkins too, but like, I mean, let's face it.
That's all I tried to sell my girlfriend watching this with you was like, it's got Diary of a Wimpy Girl in it. Come on.
Is that Chloe Grace Moretz?
Yeah, she plays like the friend or like the love interest in the first movie, so I just called her Diary of a Wimpy Girl.
I mean,
she does Kick-Ass too. Hit Girl.
Yeah, she does Kick-Ass.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy when you think about it, man. Yeah. This was like 15 years ago. She's 28 now.
I know.
Dude, she was in the Amityville Horror remake in 2005.
She's like still such a little kid to me because I watched this movie that came out probably like the late 2010s or like the early 2020s, sometime around that time.
Yeah,
it's more of an adult role for her, and I was just like, I feel weird watching this.
Yeah, she's always young to me too because I mean, I've seen her since she was very young too. So yeah, it's crazy to think, man. 28 now. We don't have to do a synopsis, do we? But I'll read it anyways. A bullied young boy befriends a young female vampire who lives in secrecy with her guardian. So, fuck, man. Where do we start with the remake?
I guess we could start at the top. Like, what do you guys think about the look? Well, first of all, they show like a prelude scene that takes place 2 weeks earlier from the.
Yeah. So what they try to do in this one, they try to get a little fancy and kind of mix up the construction of the original film. So what happens in this beginning of this film is, you know, just a scene that happens in the original one. It's pretty much a quarter of the way through the movie. I don't really understand doing that because it's like that whole thing. I hate those type of scenes where it leads you one way and then you end up seeing it later on. You're like, why the fuck would you even show me that anyways? It's like, I just don't, you don't need to construct it like that. It's literally
to grab the audience's attention from the beginning.
Yeah.
Which tends to be an American thing that needs to be done.
Yeah.
So I think like at the end of the day, I think we all agree that this movie is super Americanized.
Yep.
So it's a Hammer production, which is the irony of the whole
I know.
thing.
I saw that so funny whenever it came
It's
up.
so Americanized, but it's Hammer production.
Yeah,
I was like, is there
remember a
another
while
Hammer
ago-
or something?
A while ago, I remember like looking up the list of like Hammer movies, so I could just see like how many Hammer films I've seen and like what like the biggest ones that I haven't. I remember that movie kept coming up. I was like, that has to be a mistake, right?
So the original one takes place in 1982, obviously in Stockholm, Sweden. This one takes place in 1983 in New Mexico, in which I do have a
weird. I never think of snow when I think of New Mexico.
Okay, so this is my question.
Yeah,
I literally have this written down. So what is the deal with all the snow in New Mexico in
Honestly,
March?
I
This is
think
taking place in March, by the way. This is like this almost the springtime. I have no snow
Yeah.
where I live in March right now.
I felt like I was like I missed like a title card somewhere, or it was implied that they're like no longer in New Mexico, and I just went with it.
I mean, and I'll be honest though, like
I'm not from New Mexico. Like, I don't know if it.
Yeah, we could just be stupid. There could be
often.
some New Mexican viewer listening.
But New Mexico
But
is a
when I
little
think
bit.
of
Y'all are a
New
bunch of
Mexico,
idiots.
I always think of like fucking Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
But it's
That's what
also
I think
closer
of.
to the equator, which is less snow, right? It's south.
Yeah, that's
so
specifically how it works. That's why when the southern United States gets snow, they're like, "Oh my god, we can't go to work."
dude, you know what I love about this shit, man? They Americanize this shit so much where there's a scene where they actually have like President Reagan doing a speech on the TV at one point. I'm just like, oh my God, this is so 1983. It's fucking amazing.
So yeah, so right away, it's less of a apartment complex and more of just like apartment buildings kind of thing.
It's similar, but it's different. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
So let me just mention some things that I like about the remake. Like, I think that the bullying aspect feels more natural to what I expect out of bullying. Like, I feel like these are actual fucking bastards that are like,
well, because the
brutally
bullying
harassing
is
this kid.
very it's kind of worse in this movie. I feel like
It's
they're
way worse.
they're way bigger dicks. Yeah.
Like, and I think that could push you to doing some crazy shit more than like the bullying in the Sweden one, where it just seemed like they were like mean to him. This one, they actually seem like dangerous to him. I like Chloe Grace Moretz's take on this character. I don't understand, like, this kid, what fucking poor low-class kid his favorite candy is Now and Laters. Like, those things suck, bro.
I mean, it's 1983, man. Were Starbursts out at that time? I have no idea.
I don't know, but have you had
a
a
Starburst-
Now and Later, bro? It's like, if you want your teeth to be ripped out by chewing it, then have an hour later.
Yeah, he hadn't discovered Starburst yet, so who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been a fan of Now and Laters. I don't know if you guys have like them or not. But what else do I like? The first kill with the
Well, that's what I wanted to specifically talk about was the differences in the movie. I mean, let's face it, man. This movie is probably 90% verbatim, dialogue included. But starting with the first kill is a little bit different the way it goes down.
yeah, it's not on like a hiking trail, which actually makes more sense to me because, like, why the fuck are you gonna kill someone on a hiking trail anyway?
Yeah, true. I mean, it does make. I mean, that scene is really creepy in the original film because you can literally see the cars in the background, like going by, and you're like, "Holy fuck, that's so wild!" Like,
It is disturbing. Yeah,
yeah, it's super disturbing.
but this one is a little bit more brutal because you actually see him stick the dude in the neck, where the other one you just see his back to the camera.
Well, they changed the way the helper is portrayed in this film. He almost is portrayed as someone that, like, he's almost like a slasher killer, man. He's got a fucking mask on, you know, he's hiding in back seats of cars and shit like that.
That scene was actually a little creepy. Like,
Well-
it was kind of scary a little bit.
Well, there's two of them, right? Like the first kill leads into that. Like he kills this guy from the back. So he does it twice, but the second time it doesn't go so well. And that's one of the biggest changes in the film, actually.
Yeah, the acid.
Yeah. So the
scene is different in this one.
So in the first movie, he kills this kid, strings him up, and a couple dogs interrupt him, and he fucks off. He kind of gets scared and shit like that, runs off and realizes he didn't take the blood. So he kind of fucked that one up. In this one, he
knocks it over.
He fucking So he drains the kid's blood. Well, first of all, he kills the kid completely different. He hides in the back seat like the fucking, like a slasher killer. It's kind of crazy, actually. Very Americanized, actually. So he drains his kid's blood, and then he goes to basically, take it away, and he steps in a hole, and he fucking spills and it falls down the hill, and he loses all the blood
after it.
He chases after, he loses all the blood, it drains all the fucking out. It's just like, it's almost comical. It's like so ridiculous because it's showing like how old he is and how fucking done he is with this shit, and he just can't do it. Yeah. So the other big difference is there's another scene in the film where he does the same thing. He hides in the back seat. Jim is in this car. He hides in the back seat. And, unfortunately, this guy decides he's going to pick up his buddy. And they end up going to a gas station where, he tries to kill this kid and stuff like that. And, he tries to kill him. And then he ends up getting in the driver's seat and fucking backs out and gets nailed by a rig and shit like that. And goes all fucking crazy. And this is the scene what leads him into like pouring the ashes on his head. Where in the original film, it's like a scene in like a hospital school bathroom or something like that.
It's like a school bathroom.
He knows he's about to get caught because something didn't go right. And he pours the acid on his head. Where in this scene, he's literally in this car that just got demolished by another vehicle down a fucking hill. He pours the acid on his head, and that's the whole thing. So those are kind of the big differences in the movie.
I actually really like the scene in the pool in this one as well. The way that it's actually shot is kind of like there's a lot of like suspense where it keeps showing the clock and stuff like that, where he has to hold his breath for 3 minutes. They do that in the original one too a little bit, maybe not as much with the clock and stuff, but they do change it up though, because in the original they don't show him running to the change room first before they grab him and throw him in the water, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't do that. So that's a little bit different too, because he notices them coming. He's like, "Oh fuck, they're coming for me." So he takes off. But in the original one, he's just still in the pool, which is actually kind of a weird scene because there's literally a stereo playing on the side of the water, and they kick it in there. I'm like, wouldn't that just electrocute you? I have no idea how that works, but I would assume it probably. But anyways, movie magic.
But I mean, the scenes are very similar. I feel like the original one probably works better because you saw it first though too, but I feel like it actually ends up looking better though too. Like the way the end shots are in the first film, it pans out and it captures everything very specifically. And
I like both for different reasons. It's most of the stuff that they redo in the remake, I think is not good, or not all of it. Like I do like the first kill in this one. The acid face is kind of gross in this one as well. But
the after effect looks pretty cool.
Yeah, most of the stuff I think is worse, but I think that pole scene is like kind of equal for me. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like the effect in the acid in the original one, actually the effect ends up looking better, but the remake doesn't look that bad. But the after effect of the actual hospital scene with her climbing up the wall looks so much better in the original than it does in the remake. It looks so CG'd. It looks insanely bad. It looks really, really bad. It takes you
out of the movie.
It really does. It looks super bad. And then also, which we didn't mention because I wanted to mention when we were talking about the remake, is how fucking goddamn awesome the dummy death is in the original film.
Yes.
It's so good.
When he clips the building.
They show the whole, they never cut. The body falls out of the window, it hits the building and hits the ground, and there's no cuts in the
and like the sound effect of like the wind and like just the way the body falls seems so like realistic.
Yeah.
It's really well done. I do love that.
Yeah, I felt cheated.
I'm so glad that we didn't bring it up because I wanted to bring it up in the remake here. Man,
I totally forgot about that, but yeah, I was like waiting for the hit the side and it didn't, and then you get to hit the ground. I was like, ah.
And in the remake, the body comes flying out the window and they don't even show it. It doesn't hit nothing. It doesn't show the ground or nothing. I'm like,
you just see
you're
it falling.
disappointed. He doesn't clip
it's so disappointing, man.
First, you're disappointed you don't see him clip the building, and then you don't even get the splat. You're like, I think I was holding my breath.
And
like,
it just doesn't look as good.
For,
like even the fall just doesn't look as natural.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
A
dummy. They probably used a stunt man.
Yeah,
probably use CG.
It really doesn't look good.
Oh yeah, you're probably right. They probably did.
Well, I mean, like a lot of the scenes, and that's one of the biggest downfalls to this scene too, where we kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier about, Choli's portrayal of the vampire in this film, where it seems so animalistic and it just seems so over the top and crazy, but it's CG'd and it just comes off as being super bad. It just doesn't look very good, and you're just like,
yeah, no, I'm like, am I watching fucking Underworld or what?
Yeah. It doesn't work at all for what the character is. And it's not a direct comparison to the first one, because we all know that this one's a little bit different and obviously in narrative and tone because of, they're not going for the whole, potential pedophile thing here. Her character's a little bit different, but like,
or even the castration aspect is something completely missing as well.
Yeah.
Like in this one, when she says, I'm not a girl, I literally think she means vampire only.
Right.
Whereas the other one, it had like a double meaning.
Yeah.
So right away, I think you kind of neutered, or you didn't neuter the movie.
Right. No, that's a case of neutering the movie. You literally took the balls out of the film, because that's what this remake feels like at times. They took everything out that could have been risky from the first film. This underline of like this pedophilia and like the castration and all that type of things is not present in this movie whatsoever. We're getting one meaning. We're getting A to B here. Mm-hmm. We're not getting these sidetracks where it doesn't make for a good conversation. So, but
right. I think like this is a movie that had the other one never existed and you just watch this, I think people would be like, yeah, that was pretty good. Like, but I don't think it would be I don't think it would be like, oh, this is one of the best movies that came out in the last decade. You know what I mean? This movie feels so Americanized in terms of like casting also. Like, you got some big ass I am not against casting big people in films, but when you're remaking it, I think that's what makes the original one also so good too, because these kids were relatively unknown. Like everybody in the film was pretty unknown and stuff like that. I think that kind of works for the mystique of the movie also, but I get it. To sell it in an American audience, I completely understand this. You need to have faces to sell the movie, right? So putting Chloe in the film, that makes complete sense. She's a fucking superstar. And I have no problem with her performance. I think she was completely fine in the movie. I think the kid that plays, the boy in the first movie is a lot better than the kid in this movie. But I'm not saying this kid is bad either. I'm just saying I don't think he's bad. It's a basic performance, whereas the other kid was like a standout performance.
Yeah, it's very standout because you feel the emotion in him. You feel like right from the beginning, dude. Like even the scene where he's on the phone with his dad and stuff. Like there's just he's so good. He's so fucking good. There's a great scene where he's sitting there reading and he's eating his dinner, and it's very subtle. And then there's a knock at the door, and the way he reacts to it, I'm like, this kid is he's really good at acting. He's really fucking selling it so well. And there's just like those subtle moments where I don't get it in this movie, but I don't think this kid was horrible either. But, he's also given a little bit different scenario though too, but who knows? But
other thing that was kind of funny in this one is in the original, on the ice skating scene, it looks like he hits him with sort of like a plasticky type stick, where in this one it's like a metal stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a straight.
Well, that's also you see the his ears completely split after. That's probably the product of the metal pole.
Right, yeah. It's like brutal.
Yeah, they try to amp it up a little bit here with but I would probably say the gore and the violence a little bit and stuff.
Like the main objective.
But it just seems like that very iconic scene in the original film where she climbs into bed with Oscar. Do you notice the difference in that scene?
blood.
He's fucking clothed.
Oh,
He's clothed in this version, where she's not.
yeah.
Because it goes back.
That's straight up. Americans can't have two kids without shirts on.
100%. I have that noted. I'm like, there's no way they were showing that in an American version. There's just no fucking way. Because in Europe, it's just a lot different mentality. Like, they don't look at things as like, oh, these two kids are like, there's something real nasty.
Yeah, like none of us watch Let the Right One In and see any like sexualization of these characters. You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
Yeah.
But then going back to like, getting into the depth of the commentary here, or if they're, whatever, or the lack of it, this one's just straight up. It didn't have those other elements, right? Where she actually was a vampire.
yeah.
So hence him being clothed actually kind of made sense for it too. But it's just kind of interesting how you see that. And it was a scene I noticed right away. I'm like, oh, it felt awkward watching it in the remake. And I purposely watched these not back to back. I logged them back to back, but I didn't watch them back to back. But
I didn't watch them back to back. I watched them. I think I watched a movie in between them actually.
I did on purpose, actually. I did it actually on purpose. I watched The Wolf of Wall Street in between. It was a 3-hour movie, and I laughed my ass off because I love that fucking movie. It's a perfect 10 out of 10 for me. And I just have to do something like that in between when I'm watching, when I know the films are going to be very kind of verbatim. I need something to split it up.
Well, honestly, I was actually surprised that it wasn't an exact carbon copy, because I had always heard that it's like nearly shot for shot. But
the dialogue in certain points is very simple. Like it's spot on in dialogue at certain times. There's a
really, it really is pretty much a carbon copy, because they do all they do that's different is they amp up the violence a little.
Well, there's
everything
other
else
scenes too. I mean, like the scenes
they construct it a little bit different.
Some of the scenes are a little different, like some bad, some good. The whole subplot with the neighbor characters isn't as prominent in this one.
Mm-hmm. No. No, they it almost seems like they cut that out for like the 10-minute extended scene at the gas station with the car. The whole thing that they changed, they kind of took out the neighbors thing. Yeah. Because the runtimes,
different people editing it. They're right, almost
like I would say
the run times are like exactly the same. They're like an hour 55. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, so
I do think that it's a pretty close remake, but I was expecting like Inside type, where it's just like the same shit but way worse. They at least took some liberties to do some different stuff here and there. So I was a little bit surprised that it wasn't, because I'd always heard it was like shot for shot, like people.
I mean, it has its moments. Like, I mean, I just feel like the effects in it aren't as good. The overdone aggression with Chloe's character is kind of ridiculous to me. It doesn't look very good.
Like the blood pact in the original. Well, I think that the kid slicing his finger in the remake is actually like more better, but the reaction to her is so much better in the original. Where in this one she gets all like animalistic again. Yeah. And it's just way less subtle. It's too in your face for the type of movie it should be.
I never understood the whole basement in this complex thing where they talk about like how the parents never knew about this place. I'm like, how the fuck could nobody know about this thing? It looks like it's all like done up and good and shit. I'm like, what? Like, how does nobody know about it?
I think it's supposed to be an abandoned unit or something.
Yeah, it's something, because it's like a fucking it feels like it's like an actual apartment or something like that. It's really strange. Yeah, I mean, one thing I will give this movie, it's got a really good soundtrack. I wouldn't say the score is overly the greatest, but the soundtrack is really good. There's a lot of great cues in this, like really fucking good cues. But, I mean, that's very Americanized. Very Americanized. I mean, it's 1983, so actually most of the soundtrack isn't even 80s music, to be honest. It's actually mostly 70s shit. But when they play Burning for You, like there's this great ass fucking cue where, it cues up Burning for You, and then the helper fucking burns himself with the acid. if you guys are familiar with Blue Oyster Cult, I mean, that shit's classic material. And I'll give him mad props for that because I'm a big musical Q fan. And I thought that worked brilliantly. There's actually another one in the film too. I got to find in my notes. I know there's something else I'm missing here. But yeah, anyways. I fucking love that song. Burning for You is like amazing. So good.
One thing that I noticed in this pretty quickly that was a big minus for me was the lighting in this movie. I think the lighting in this movie was that great. Maybe the playground stuff. I don't want to necessarily say it was bad. It's way, but they have like these golden, like these like they're like yellowish. It has like these golden like street lights illuminating them when they're out there. You just didn't really get that in the original, and it was like way more like colder and like gloomier. And I thought that like there was like a big like contextual piece missing with the way that the scene was lit.
Yeah, I mean, I watched some DVDs, so like I'm going to be one of those snobs where I'm like, I probably would have been a lot better on Blu-ray. No, but I mean, it does seem a little bit dark for sure.
It's not even like the darkness that's bothering me. It's just the way they lit it with like these like I like the muted like bluish and grayishness of like even.
I feel like there's more natural lighting in the original. And
yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it.
It's like there was that's like when they were on the playground, it was like overly lit to me, and it was like this like big golden like illumination that they were going for like the street light effect. To me, it was too much for me.
To me, like the original, like the scenes look as if they're lit by the moon and streetlights. In this one, I feel like there's lighting rigs outside the scene that is lighting it.
Yeah, I mean? Right. Like all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the scene in this film where she comes into, which actually doesn't look very good either, when she's not invited into the apartment and she starts bleeding. Same scene. At least she's wearing a Kiss shirt, so I give her props for that. It's fucking pretty awesome. So again, with the music shit, but there's actually when she goes into the shower and takes a shower, they play the breakup song by the Greg King Band. And that song is so fucking awesome. I'm like, oh man, that's pretty cool, dude. It's really awesome. On the outskirts. Good stuff, man. Again, with the musical cues, man, I love that shit. So I'll give him props for that. But I mean, to be honest, man, I don't hate this movie. I'm not Mike Merriman. He's like, how did he describe this movie? Actually, this is really interesting. So actually something I want to read out here. So I always usually post a picture, which I know you fucking cunts don't follow me on Instagram.
I don't really use Instagram. I do follow Instagram.
It's just a fucking tool to like, you know, I like talking to people. But anyways,
well, so I think you also just like posting pictures of all your cool shit.
Well, that too, but I like the conversation. I wish people would conversate more about it because I would like to actually have a conversation about it. But anyways, but so yeah, I use it as a tool to promote the show. So too, so I posted a picture of, you know, the OG versus remake, and Mike was the first one to comment. He said, "One is a classic, one is a window dressing without a soul." And then the next person that commented was Greg.
I saw him.
Greg Immortus commented, and he said, "One of the few times that both versions are really good." And then somebody posted a comment saying "OG all day." So it's kind of like three different fucking, you know, I mean, I guess not three different, but. So you think the second one doesn't have, or the remake doesn't have a soul?
No, I don't think it's that bad. I think it's decent, honestly. It's a watchable movie. It's not.
Our conversation has led to me believe that it's just a typical dumbed down PG version of a great movie. I mean, if we assume that everything we talked about in the first movie is what it's about, then this movie is just your typical fucking dumbed down version. It's so savage. I don't know why America tends to be so goddamn tough, but such pussies at the same time. Can't like remake a movie. Like my version of a remake would be to like take this material and just up the ante. It's kind of like, you know, how a sequel should be, right? When you make a sequel to a film, what do you want to do? You kind of want to make it a little bit better, maybe not better, but just up, maybe the gore, maybe the ante a little bit. Why would you dumb down your shit? I know you're catering to a certain audience, but like at the same time, like,
yeah, they don't care. It's not about making a good movie. It's about making a movie that'll make money. So if they just like, if they're just, it's not even like really like anyone's fault. It's just like this is like the general, on average, the general population just watches movies for entertainment, and they're just like going to be average intelligence in general. Like, and if you're not into movies, it's just like there's a whole nother like level of context you just don't have about anything you watch. And like, I'm not even like bashing people for that. Like that's completely fine. I'm not saying everyone should like be psychotic about movies like I am, but it's just we're gonna take this popular title that already has something behind it, so we'll get these people to watch it, and we're just gonna make. And I actually showed the trailer to my girlfriend to try to get her to watch, and she was like, "I'm good," and it really was just like your typical like kind of like horror trailer. And I think this is why like I always like bash on like theater, like I call them like theater horror movies, where it's just. I seem to be very low on them most of the time because it's exactly this. It's just like.
But you can say it though. But you can say it though. I mean, Let Me In, Inside, Martyrs, Speak No Evil. These are all examples of unapologetic capitalism. They're taking these movies that are done in a different country, and they're like, oh fuck, we can just make some fucking cash off this, but not giving a fuck about the actual material.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
say that they don't give a fuck. I just think they're catering to
their goal is to make money, not win an Oscar.
When I look at audiences, I just only think of us because we're the cool ones. So like,
I feel like I have a better like outside point of view of the general audience.
I say we make
you probably do because you probably think about it more. I don't give a fuck. Like I think about us and like us genre fans, and like I always feel like horror films are made for us. But then at the same time, I do realize that like
the problem is if they were only made for us, it would be non-existent because there wouldn't be enough of us
had
to
a conversation
make them
it's so crazy to think that like if you were making genre films for the genre fan, it would be dead. Like it's absolutely insane to me that we couldn't support that because there's like 7 of us in the world. It's crazy. Right. It's fucking crazy.
So I had a conversation at a game shop probably like 4 or 5 years ago that kind of changed my perspective just like on normal people, and it kind of made me realize like I don't like, what do I care? This is like they don't like movies the same way I do or like care about any of these things. They just watch it at face value. Because people were like hyped up on some Marvel movie that just came out, and I
tuned out like everyone else does.
Yeah, like so like I like just being like who I am, thinking like everybody else like around the circle of people I like talk to pretty much just go like, oh, like I think most of those are pretty bad. I don't care about that movie. And like everybody thought I was the weirdo, and they were always like, no, those movies are awesome. And I was talking like why they suck, like how like someone that has like a more understanding of film like says why they would suck. And like it just like maybe, and I just kind of look like a jackass, and it just kind of made me realize it's like, dude, like who like. Yeah, I'm in that like very upper echelon people that care enough about movies to like watch like endless amounts of movies and try to learn about movies.
To that's spend 4 hours a week
like
talking
that's my
about
special
on a podcast.
My special interest. Like this is my special interest. This isn't like what everybody does. So it's like who cares? Like I don't know shit about like there's probably like I think sports is a good example. There's people that don't know shit about like a certain sport they watch, but they enjoy watching it. They think they know what like you're talking about.
Yeah,
like,
those people are called girls.
But like if you talk to someone,
dude, I love how this just we just went back to 2013, man. Dude, that's so good. So many people are just like, oh my God, he just said that.
When you talk to someone like that and you actually know about the sport, they sound like an idiot to you. And it's the same thing. It's like, all right, man, that's your thing. Like I noticed that around like the Bruins Cup win, like in 2011, I was hanging out with my friend a lot who didn't know shit about hockey, but he like loved watching it. And the stuff he complained about and the stuff like he like blame on the refs or like people getting lucky, be like, this guy has no idea about anything.
Yeah, I get
hockey.
that a lot whenever I watch like football with people like they are, you could tell like don't really know what the hell they're talking about. and they'll just like get mad at something that's clearly not even a like foul. You know,
he was getting mad that the Canucks were making so many good passes. Like they're getting lucky that their passing was good. I was like, bro, it's like talent. Don't just throw the puck somewhere and it lands. Like,
yeah,
that's how it works. So yeah,
yeah, I'm kind of with you too. Like, I mean, I don't really care. Like, I think there's a place for stuff like this. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna be like, you know, like, I'm not gonna praise it, and I'm not gonna like root for stuff like that to happen. But I do think that it's like sort of a gateway thing. You know, there's somebody out there that probably saw this movie and it has a good enough core story that it's adapting that it is, you know, going to be a big important movie for someone, and it's going to get them to get more into the genre and stuff. I'm sure there's somebody out there like that.
Or at least went and like saw the original, and maybe that like had some sort of impact.
Man, I can't wait for the wife to hear that. Because
she don't count. She don't count.
Talking about like she fucking tells me more about football than fucking anybody does, man.
I know, it was a joke.
No, I just find it really funny actually. But that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
But no, like I think that I think this is much more of a palatable film than like Inside and Martyrs was to me. I also think that if you saw the original when it came out and then maybe 2 years later you saw this one, you would probably like it more than if you're us and watched it in the same week.
You would like this one more than the original?
No, you would like the remake more than you like it now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, like if there was more of a gap in between. Because I don't think it's a bad movie or anything. Like, it's just not like after watching the original so close, it just feels kind of pointless. Mm-hmm. But you know, I mean, to us, I do think there's like I was telling Tyler, I do think there's a purpose for movies like this.
You know, I mean, I fuck around, I joke around, you know, about the whole Americanized thing and stuff like that. But I get there's the audience for it, and you know, I understand that. But at the same time,
it is such a good example of like an Americanized movie, though, like a film.
It really is, man. There's even the scene where in this film where our character, our lead, what the fuck? I can't even. What is his name in the movie? I've only seen it once. Sorry, guys. Owen, yeah. Where he's, you know, he's using his telescope and stuff like that, which is, you know, I swear those things were invented just to spy on people and see naked titties. But he actually ends up seeing some naked titties in it. I'm like, yep, there you go.
Yeah,
you got to have some titties in the film to sell it.
All right, Owen.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. Which they don't do that in the original film. There's no nudity. So, I mean, actual nudity, I guess, but
yeah, but you guys have anything else on this one?
I mean, I can't think of too many other differences. I mean, there's so many scenes that are just so verbatim, like the Rubik's Cube scene, man. It's like word for word. You know, there's tons of scenes that are word for word.
Even that scene that you mentioned, like in the original, the scene where she's sort of talking about like money, and she sort of touches the puzzle, and the golden egg shows up. Like that's a subtle hint that she's good at puzzles, right? But in like this movie, they like flat out say like she's really good at puzzles,
right?
In case it wasn't clear.
But I feel like it's I don't want to call Americans, you know, like us Westerners dumb or anything, but it's like,
no, people are really like, people amaze me every day how dumb they are.
But you just need to force feed everything. You know, it's like there's no subtleness to it, right? It's where it's like shit. But I just find it works way better as a film.
I don't know.
Sometimes it takes like sitting next to somebody watching Thanksgiving that had trouble following the movie to like show you like some people are really just are not good at watching.
Yeah,
movies.
they're named Dave Z.
Thanksgiving. Who was confused by Thanksgiving?
All right, so like you know like how they do like the classic red herring and they make you think it's like the kid that broke his arm, like for a second. But like it's but then like so they just but then it's proven now because the killer comes out at it. The killer comes out and you know it was after the part where the killer like talked on the phone and like you knew it wasn't him. And then like that kid came and jumped out and like hit the killer or whatever. Like the kid next to me went, "What? I thought that guy was the killer."
Oh, shut the fuck up.
It took a lot for me to like not laugh. That like was like, and I literally had the thoughts to myself. I said like, "Oh my god, this kid is too stupid to follow Thanksgiving."
Oh no, that's bad.
That's how I feel when I watch Giallos.
You know what, JP? In your defense, half the fucking Giallos reveals don't even literally make sense, but some of them completely do. But like. Because they're actually so obvious, but you're like, that can't be the killer. But, you know, that kind of makes the
I love when I'm watching a slasher, Giallo, and the killer's revealed, and I'm like, and I literally have no fucking clue who it is. I'm like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah, that's happening once or twice too. Watching Giallo, I'm like, did I miss something?
I'm thinking back, and I'm like, dude, I don't know who the fuck this is.
No, there was one.
Same thing happened to me when I watched Friday the 13th. I was like, that's not Jason. I was like, who the fuck is that?
Oh, because you'd watched Jason before the fact. Yeah. So I could see that.
And the fact that you never see her before in the movie.
Could have been anybody.
Spoiler alert.
So Let Me In. Anything else on Let Me In? I mean,
I think I'm good on it, honestly. I feel like I said exactly how I feel about the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Tyler, what do you give it?
I'm gonna come down a little from where I was. As I came up on the other one. This one will go down to a 6.
I give it a 6.5.
Yeah, I actually initially when I first finished it, I was thinking like 8. Just because I mean the source material is so good that it's like, you know, but then after really thinking about it and talking about it and talking about the other one really made this one worse. I'm gonna give it a 7. So still a little bit higher than you guys, but
that's actually where I was at before we went into this.
I was at could be
I dropped to have a point.
6.5 or a 7 how the conversation went, and then I'm just like, oh.
Because I'll give it. I mean, it's still the source material, right? But
right, yeah, it's like you're already starting with a win by the fact that half the movie's done for you. You know what I mean? Half the movies are the script is good, so it's like you already starting, you know, to make the movie.
Starting off strong.
Yeah,
I mean, from a 10 to a 6.5, it's quite a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, I truly love that original. I think it's phenomenal. It's one of the best of, you know, the last 25 years. Like, I truly believe that. Like, I would put it up against a lot of the films that have come out.
So I feel like this March Madness is going to do really well. I think we really, really need to do a remake one next year.
I'm down. I think
because
would be fun
because there's so many remakes and there's so many debatable ones too. Where there's obviously ones where like pretty much everyone hates, but like Night of the Living Dead, where does this stand?
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead, which everyone knows my feelings on that. Chainsaw.
Hills Have Eyes. Chainsaw.
You got fucking does Hellraiser? You got Hellraiser. Carrie. Do Carrie.
What's another one people like were mixed up?
Invasion of the Body Snatchers in multiple times.
That's a tough one to fight.
Which when we did the OG verse remake, man, I prefer the original one.
Really?
I actually am. I did too on that show.
Yeah.
But I also like the 90 whatever version as well. I think that one's cool.
Yeah, that one's solid too. I think.
Yeah.
I think the 78 one though. I think that's the year, right? 78.
I was always a 78 person until I watched them back to back, and I was like, no, I like the original one way better.
I've watched the original. I've watched the original one like 3 times in the past like 2 or 3 years. So I'm pretty confident I like the 78 better.
Wow, crazy.
Black Christmas.
Black Christmas.
Yeah, multiple Black Christmases. You have
Nosferatu.
So how does that work if we were to do a remake bracket? You can only throw one in there, right? Like you can't have 2 Black Christmases.
I feel
think
like
you should allow 2. You should allow multiple ones because that way you're just going to get a higher quality movies.
Well, I feel like
do twice the size of a 64 bracket. Like there's
I feel like we compile a fucking list of so many remakes and then we'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
Because like there's remakes to Long Weekend, which we should do on this show. We should do that remake, OG verse remake sometime.
Yeah, Suspiria. Let's see where people stand on that one after like 5-6 years.
Suspiria.
We've actually never reviewed the remake of Suspiria. We've talked about it, which I would actually like to do that.
I haven't watched it since.
I would do it.
I haven't watched it since the like opening night, but in the time since then, I've become a pretty big fan of that director. So I'd be interested to see how I feel about it now.
Yeah, I would be interested to see it after all these years removed. For me,
it just proved my point that putting substance into the fucking Suspiria narrative doesn't fucking work.
Like, there's some things I like. Like, I actually remember liking the whole like German war subplot a lot.
Dude, there's substance in the original film. People just aren't seeing it. That's the fucking thing.
It's funny.
Like,
I think it's like a lot of like the gore and type of stuff I didn't like about the remake. I felt like it was cheesy.
Dude, the remake is so drawn out.
You got Willard. You have The Ring. Yeah.
Ooh, The Ring. The Ring, I think, is an underrated one.
Yeah, I agree.
Hills Have Eyes, man.
Willard.
Hills Have Eyes, I think, is like
top tier.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a favorite to win, but it could be like a dark horse.
But if we're ranking these the way JP is, do they actually match up like that? Who knows?
Oh no, dude, definitely not. There's gonna be like some of these that will feel really different about it.
So do we consider The Thing, because this is we all know this conversation. The Thing's not a remake, it's just another adaptation. So that plays into Pet Sematary.
I think we count adaptations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fair enough because you have to have The Thing in there, in my opinion. But then Pet Sematary would have to be in there.
I mean,
what other adaptations? Oh, The Shining.
Yeah.
There's 2 different Shining movies, I guess technically.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they all make it. You know, I think.
It depends how many we did.
Yeah.
You know, what's
like you. Yeah.
If we limit it to 64, it's probably going to be a lot of good stuff.
Yeah,
if we open it up to more, it would probably be you know,
we would have to start picking because we're picking the not the Kubrick, but fuck, I don't know. God, there's a lot, man, out there.
Yeah, that could be next year's for sure.
There really is a lot.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. We have over a year to get to that.
Knock Knock is a remake. I didn't know that.
How do you approach the Dracula thing? Like, is there? Oh man, there's so many Dracula.
I think you would be able to qualify Nosferatu the Vampire. Yeah.
Well, Nosferatu 79 would be the remake.
Movie.
Nosferatu 79 would be the remake, but then there's the new remake.
And then the new one. Yeah, I think
I'm talking Dracula.
But isn't that not that Nosferatu about like the making of Nosferatu?
No, that's Shadow of the Vampire.
No, that's Shadow of the Vampire. Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, well, Dracula, I think you just go by title. It just
because there's literally like 400 Dracula movies.
Yeah, you just go by title. Like I guess there'd be like.
Well, technically, Dracula is a remake of Nosferatu in a way because it's based on the Bram Stoker's novel.
It is true. It is true. It is true.
Yeah, we would have to we'd have to fucking define some rules for.
I think we just leave out Dracula.
Or you can like select up to 2 or something. So you get the good ones. And Dracula counts as a title, and Nosferatu counts as a title.
You know, another fun one would be prequels, because nobody ever talks about prequels, and it's like, what is the best prequel? You probably don't have 64, but you could do like there's enough to do.
There might be 32.
Yeah, there might,
and
be
maybe a sweet 16. I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, that's for next year.
Anyways, yeah, that is Let Me In from 2010.
Yep. I think that was a good OG versus remake show. I feel like we actually, sometimes we don't really do the versus part, but I feel like we kind of did on this one.
Yeah, I mean, the last couple we have, but I think we've also grown as reviewers, and we start to realize, the differences and stuff. And I don't know. I just feel like that was a good one though, because it really kind of showcased how the American version is it's just typical. It's fucking typical, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, Mike Merriman was more right than wrong, but he also is like a little too hard on it as well.
I don't think it's soulless. I just think it's Americanized. I just think it's what it's doing. It did what it was supposed to do for its audience. Mm-hmm. It's just not for us. So
it's really not that bad.
Yeah.
It's not atrocious at all. So
Funny Games, that would be a good remake. It's a hot one.
I would do Funny Games. I think that would be a fun one. I've never seen the new one.
They're the exact same.
I kind of like these, man. Like, I was thinking about it because I've never seen the remake of Long Weekend before, and I was like, we need to do that one.
Yeah, I've only seen the remake of Funny Games once. I've seen the original one like 8 times.
Well, when I was doing Funny Games for one of Duncan's show, I started the remake not realizing that there was a remake. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I'm watching the movie and it's in English, and I'm like, I thought this movie was whatever language it is. Yeah, Austrian.
Austrian, German? It's in German, yeah.
And then I go over to the other one, I'm like, wow, this is very similar. But yeah. So we'll do some more OG versus remake shows.
Yeah, that would not be a good one though, because it's a shot-for-shot remake from the same director.
Yeah, that might not be the best one. Maybe something like Willard, because they're very kind of different movies.
Yeah,
Willard's not too bad. Yeah,
I actually really like the remake of Willard.
It's too bad that somebody never remade Ben, because that would have been awesome to do like both those remakes.
Yeah,
I remember seeing the trailers for Willard when I was a kid, like in the theater
with Crispin Glover.
Pretty good. Yeah. It almost has like that sort of like dark, Tim Burton like sort of feel to it a little bit.
Yeah, that was in his like dark mid 2000s kind of phase there. He did Simon Says also.
Who's the director?
No, Crispin Glover.
Oh, Crispin Glover. Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing like some random horror movies now.
I think he does a really good performance in that movie.
Wasn't he like
I think so too.
Star of that show Hannibal? When around this time too.
I'm not sure. I didn't ever watch that.
I never watched Hannibal.
I actually really didn't enjoy doing those films on the podcast, honestly. I'm not a big fan of that franchise.
I like Manhunter and I like Silence of the Lambs. I don't really like any of the other ones.
Oh man, we shit on Hannibal.
I like Silence of the Lambs. Manhunter's okay to me, but it's not one
I honestly don't consider really that movie a horror movie.
I like Manhunter.
I love it. It's like literally one of my favorite movies.
I don't love it. I love it. I like it though.
Yeah, it's a personal favorite for me, but I've just never considered it a horror movie.
But Hannibal, on the other hand, man, is trash.
Yeah, that's why I really hate Red Dragon, because I think it's just like worse than Manhunter in like every single way.
And Red Dragon, fuck.
Yeah, I do not like that movie at all. It's actually closer to the book.
Yeah,
I think that's like to the detriment of the movie.
And that fucking prequel, man, Hannibal Rising. Damn,
yeah, I don't mind that one. Anyway, time to
the only fun fact, real quick. The only other movie the guy that made Willard made was the Black Christmas remake.
Which is great. Wait, like the good Black Christmas remake, right?
Yeah,
There's a good one.
The one in your opinion, yeah.
Hey, Parker agrees with me, and Parker is more intelligent than you. So,
oh yeah,
No.
is that why he's making friends with AI?
Parker's not more intelligent because if he likes the Black Christmas remake, he's full blown retarded too. So
I don't have an opinion on it.
it made my top 10 Christmas movies.
I saw it once when I was probably like, I don't know, like 13, 14 years old.
That's the best time to watch it.
I love Dave, but seriously, that I don't get the love. I can't figure it out, dude. I tried again this past Christmas. I watched it and I'm like, this movie sucks. Like, maybe I'll be one of those guys where you give me a 4K and I'm like, oh, this movie's great.
It's only gotten better for me every time I watch it.
Nah, it gets worse every time. It's like
I'm
Dawn of the Dead remake.
I'm not really a giant slasher person, so it's probably not like I'm probably not the best one to
I
make
love
it
some
because it's not
slashers.
Oh, I can watch slashers all day, but that one I'm just not a big fan.
All right, I gotta go.
Dude, what, you have to say it. I need to go get food and do your back stretch because that's what you do every time.
No, I'm actually not hungry. I gotta go to the bathroom.
I call bullshit on that one.
I gotta take a shit on him, you know?
Just do it there. No one will see.
Damn, he's revealing too much information. Okay. All right. So that's going to conclude episode 287 here on the 22 Shots and Moves and Horror podcast. We'll be back next week with a huge bracket. Super excited for it. So super excited for that. So check you guys next week. Deuces.
Peace.
That's all, folks.